And now, an on-air sports marketing presentation.
Go today.
It's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B, now on ESPN 620, 98.7 FM HD2, and streaming live at arizonasports.com. The guys are powered by the law offices of Lerner and Rowe. In a wreck and need a check? Make one call, that's all. 602-977-1900. And now on your ESPN station in Phoenix, ESPN 620, Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B.
All right, we got a packed lineup today. We've got Diamondbacks. Can they keep pace in the West, or is another slump looming? Plus, big picture, college football talk today. The CFP format is changing. Is this the end of automatic bids as we know it? We're going to go around the NFL. We're going to break the latest NBA chaos that happened last night. And, of course, we're at a Twin Peaks. It's a Thursday, so Peaks Picks is coming up as well. Got the return of Roc's Manvice today, which will have to do with just a lot of stuff in regards to some offbeat world of dogs with better social skills than their owners, flying cars. We got guests, we got giveaways, we got game breakdowns. That's all today here on Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B here on ESPN 620, 98.7 HD2, and always streaming on the Arizona Sports app. All right, the D-backs, they dropped one to the Dodgers, but the bigger story, Arizona's MLB team, that being the Diamondbacks, could be on the move. The state's funding is in limbo, and relocation talk is starting to heat up. That is something we are going to have to talk about quite a bit. Rick Horrell, the sports professor, will join us. We are going to get into it in about 20 minutes, but this is a story that continues to make a lot of noise. I mean, could we see another situation like the Arizona Coyotes?
I hope not, Roc. I hope not. There's so many variables here that goes to the Senate to vote, and I think that a couple of things they're looking to do as well was, have like a district like they do out there at State Farm. The Sports Authority have that district. They tax the rental cars and the people in the area, the different cities on the west side. Now the proposition is that they're looking to maybe do that with the Board of Supervisors, that they incorporate that versus just the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors giving them the money off of their taxes for the stadium only. And then you have pretty much your owner, Ken Kendrick, and his partners commit the balance. So that's there. But if they do another proposal to what I just said as far as basically an area tax, that might have to go back in if this thing doesn't work out. I think if they keep it the way that it is, just the taxes off the use of the stadium and all the products, it'll probably pass. But if not, and if Ken Kendrick and the powers that be with the Diamondbacks say, well, we would like to expand it because we're going to need more money, they might go back to Kendrick and say, well, then you're going to have to kick in more money because we'd have to go to the taxpayers if you want to make an all-encompassing district.
Here's my question, both you guys. Why are we at this point? How come this hasn't been brought up like 5, 6, 7 years ago?
They've been talking about this for several years, Jimmy.
Okay, so why are we still fumbling around?
Because they've been negotiating the last couple of years, and they've been trying to pin down the cost of all the maintenance for Chase Field.
Yeah, but it goes up every year.
It will. So, that's a very valid question. Why haven't they had this settled? And I think that the negotiations going back and forth, a little tit for tat, that's been going on between the Diamondbacks and the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. Well, they finally have reached an agreement. They've agreed to agree. Now it's just got to be passed by the Senate. Now, if they want to go and try to get more money out of it and do it, like I mentioned, an all-encompassing district in that area, then they have to go back, rewrite it, and go from there.
The thing is, the Phoenix mayor and several other Maricopa County leaders are pushing back on this. That's the issue. Just because it went through is great, but now when you get this pushback, that's where I think it's a challenge. We all know it's been passed in the Arizona House, and it's just now, if you have these politicians that don't want this is going to be a problem.
Yeah, well, they passed it in the House. Now it's got to go to the Senate.
Yeah.
So the mayor and everybody that goes back to the Senate, the House passed it. Now the Senate's got to do it. If they're feeling that pressure, we all thought it was a slam dunk, the way it's set up right now.
I don't think who said that.
No
one said it was a slam dunk. I think we all know this is an issue. Yeah. We've already lost one team. Who's to say we're not going to lose another team? It's happening more now than ever. I mean, Oakland lost their baseball team to Las Vegas. And then when you got when you got Utah in the city of Utah and they have this huge push to get a Major League Baseball team, they're doing everything. We know about Nashville. Portland's in the mix too.
Yep.
So there's been some rumors that the Diamondbacks have had some conversations recently on potential suitors.
Yeah, and this thing is
That could be posturing.
It could be posturing. It could be leverage to say, look, we've got Nashville, we've got Indianapolis, whoever the teams are, to say they're ready and raring to go. Are you guys willing to lose us because of the dollars and cents? You're the landlord, Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. We're the tenant. I know our lease is up. Was it 2031 when their lease is up? We expect you to make improvements. And on top of it, we'll go ahead and help you make improvements by kicking the money in. So I think that when I hear the politicians say, well, why are we suing them? Well, look at the tax dollars and the money that's being generated by the Diamondbacks and the you said stadium for concerts, whatever else, that's coming back to the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. So that's the rub. But I think at some point, when you got, 5 years left on your lease, they've got to start making some movements or plans, the Diamondbacks, to figure out what they're going to do.
But every time you say taxes, there's a revolt. I mean, we saw what happened in Tempe when they wanted to build that new arena there, and with all of the ancillary things around it, the business district, and people voted it down. I know this is different, but it is taxes. And anytime you say that, people's antennas go up.
And no one trusts our government. So they say we're not paying for it. Well, I agree. I mean, I understand the mechanism behind this, but there are a lot of people that don't see that, and it's how the media spins it.
Yeah.
All our local media, they don't want to see the Diamondbacks leave.
No.
However, they get better ratings if they can get that wow factor out there that, oh, my God, the team is leaving. People are going to tune in for that.
Here's the rub. Jimmy, you kind of brought it up. If they're going to tax everybody at Chase Field, meaning if you buy this, and this, what they want all those taxes to stay there for the maintenance of the facility.
I understand.
What typically happens is the taxes are shared amongst the district, the downtown area, the police, that whole area, it's shared. So what the heartburn with that I see is it being designated for the stadium only.
Yeah.
So at some point, if you're the landlord, you got to be able to maintain and keep it up to speed, which is not up to speed as according to the Diamondbacks.
Right.
But they're willing. I mean, there's a lot of landlords, tenants, to say, hey, look, we'll kick in. Let's say if you got some stuff that's broken in the house, it costs $10,000. You say, hey, look, we'll kick in as a tenant. We'll kick in 5. You kick in the other 5. We're not holding your feet to the fire to basically cover everything, which most landlords would do or be responsible for. So sometimes I think Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, well, not so much them, because they're in favor of this.
3 minutes.
Some of the politicians don't understand you got to give in order to make, and you're the landlord. So I don't think they quite get it. But to your point, Jimmy, the taxes would go specifically toward that stadium.
All right, we got a whole segment we're going to get into this in about 20 minutes, so let's save it there. But the big question to ponder is, should Arizona taxpayers help fund the Chase Field renovations, or is it on the ownership to pay? That'll be one of the questions that we'll dive into. But let's dive into this team as they fell yesterday to the Dodgers 3-1. They're off today. They'll head to St. Louis and get a weekend set with them. But it was somewhat of a pitching duel yesterday. Corbin Burns pitched what we want him to do. 7 innings, allowed 3 runs on 4 hits. He struck out 8. Despite his solid performance, they did take the loss. Dustin May earned the win for the Dodgers. He struck out 8 over 6 innings and gave up just 1 run.
2 minutes.
Tel Martell was that 1 run, which was a homer in the 4th inning.
In just one pitch, he threw 81. He had 21 scoreless innings.
His pitch count was down.
Yeah, it was that. But the 81st pitch, Hernandez took it deep. Get 2 base hits,
straight away center field.
2 base hits in that inning, and basically in that 6th inning, the runners on. Freeman started it. You get Rojas on, and Freeman broke up as no hitter. Rojas and Mookie Betts get on. Next thing you know, he hangs a slider. He hit it to the deepest part of the field too. But I thought Corbin Burns is starting to pitch like the Cy Young Award winner.
He looks like
last 2 weeks.
He really looked good. Really looked sharp.
On a national level, the Knicks, they suffered a heartbreaking loss in overtime last night. We'll dive into that a little bit later. Also, some college football news. Some changes are on their way, so we will definitely kind of tackle that as we continue. Our State 48 Roofing It's Your Call question of the day. What should the D-backs do if Chase Field renovations fall through? Your 4 choices on our X page at Roc and Manuch are: 1, stay and privately fund a new stadium in Arizona. B, relocate to a new Arizona city like Mesa, Scottsdale. 3, explore options in other states like Salt Lake and Nashville. Or D, keep fighting for the public money and just stay at Chase Field. Those are your 4 choices. Head to our Twitter page at Roc and Manuch, Twitter X, whatever you want to call it. Dive into that. But coming up, it's our replay, rewind, the top sounds from around the sports world. Ketel Marte goes deep. We got Hernandez answers the bell, and the Pacers stunned the Knicks at MSG. That's all coming up as we continue from the Camelback Twin Peaks. This is Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B.
Now it's time for our replay rewind. The top sounds of the night and whatever Rock decides to add. Let's get to it in replay rewind with Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B on ESPN 620 and on FM at 98.7 HD2.
All right, we got some D-backs and some NBA. We'll start with the only run that put the D-backs on the board first. Here's a 425-foot solo home run by Ketel Marte in the 4th inning.
Marte hits a high fly ball out to right field, and there it goes. Ketel Marte way out of here. That's number 7, and it's 1-0 Diamondbacks.
So that would be the only run for the Diamondbacks. Then in the 6th inning, this is when it got out of hand. Bottom of the sixth, Hernandez launched a 413-foot home run to center field, which made the score 3-1.
High drive, center field and deep. This ball is gone.
Both of those sounds coming from D-backs, MLB.com, and then Sportsnet LA with the last one. We go to the post game. Burns, who's a starting pitcher who did well, here he is talking about some of the takeaways he's had over the last couple weeks.
I mean, the ball's been coming out of the hand really well the last couple weeks. So just a lot of positives to build off of it. Obviously, it's never fun to lose, but one swing of the bat really changed that course of that game. And if not, then it was another really good outing. So a lot of positives, like I said, to take away from it and move on to the next one.
He's got to keep doing what he's doing.
Yeah, I agree.
The bats will follow. Yeah. I mean, it's just a matter of just keep. He needs to do what he's doing. Go 7 innings. Strike out 6-7 guys or more, and in most cases, the D-backs are going to pick up a win.
It's interesting. May, he pitched very, very well, too. The Diamondbacks, they left, 7 runners on?
We're in May.
Yeah, no, they left. May and him had a heck of a battle.
Oh, May, the pitcher.
Yeah,
for the Dodgers.
He and May had a nice little battle. But they both, you think about that, great pitcher's duel. You loved it. I still want to no-hitter until Freeman hits a base hit in that 4th inning. But, 3 hits in that 6th inning. Mm-hmm. And he hung a couple sliders, and you just kind of knew, uh-oh. And then when Hernandez, who loves a little outside slider, he left it over the plate, just crushed it. But that's about the only inning in reference to that. Comes in the 7th inning, shuts him down. But then again, of all the nights for the Diamondbacks bats to go silent, like they did, the night before, hopefully against St. Louis, they can get those cranked up again.
Well, the night before, they weren't that bad. I mean, the fact that they were a 3-1 lead in the top of the 10th. Right.
But again,
they blew that. That was pitching that one. It wasn't offense.
And they almost stole one in that game as far as that concerned.
Should have won that one.
Hey,
like they had a closer. Your boy Shelby didn't step up.
I texted
Shelby's.
I texted
it's all on him. Shelby Miller. He loves Shelby Miller.
Yeah, I know. That's why I texted him.
He's pitched well.
Yes,
but
he has.
I said your boy's imploding.
Ultimately, that's not his role.
No,
it's not a closer.
But you know what? Thank God there's a role for Shelby Miller because he's not going to be a
well. I don't know about that. They put him in where they needed him, and that didn't work out. But it's not his role.
He's been the most consistent closer that they've had. They just need Martinez to come back, and they basically need once they get him back, which they may get him back this weekend in St. Louis. But here's the thing: you better have your bats, your pitching livened up because St. Louis, who's now in 2nd place, 2nd leading team as far as hitting in all Major League Baseball.
All right, let's get one more from Torey Lovello on what it meant to lose this series to the Dodgers.
We want to win every series that we play, and we were close last night, got beat. We were close today and got beat. We got to figure out a way to close up that gap and finish these games off. So, at the end of the day, it's the Dodgers, yes, of course, but we want to take care of our business the way we know how against every team that we play. And we're going to have an off day tomorrow in St. Louis, and we're going to pick it up on Friday against Cardinals and do our best on that day.
So I think they'll be fine. They'll be fine against, moving forward. They've got the hitting, pitching starting to come back around. Zach Gallen is leaking a little bit of oil, but I just think that if they can maintain and try to win these series when they can, key is you can't lose a series to those teams inside your conference, inside your division.
All right, moving on to the NBA in a dramatic opener at Madison Square Garden. The Pacers overcame a 14-point deficit with under 3 minutes remaining. They force an overtime. Ultimately, they secure the win, 138-135. Halliburton led the charge, 31 points, 11 assists, and had that game-tying jumper that we've seen over and over the last 12, 14 hours to end in regulation. And then Nesmith, hitting 5 3-pointers in the final minutes, which helped that comeback as he finished with 30 points. Let's hear some of Nesmith and what he was doing. What do we have here? Cut off of my computer. Just fire it off. Who cares?
Yeah.
On the side, I don't know what the controversy there was. Nesmith, it's a 3. It's a 2-point game. Oh my! It's a 2-point game with 22 seconds to go.
He had 3 in a row.
Yeah, he did.
3 in a row. You're up by 12. All of a sudden, you're down by 2 with what 22 seconds to go. then they pretty much come back. I mean, it was amazing comeback. They're like, wait a second.
Great basketball game.
They're up the Knicks are up by 14 on the Pacers.
That's why we love the NBA. Look,
I wouldn't say that. We don't get that many of those, Jimmy.
Well,
you're a big NBA fan. I am not an NBA fan.
From watching that game last night.
Finally.
Yeah. Well,
but you got to admit, the series hasn't been that great.
Well, this is the first game of that.
No, I mean, just the playoffs.
I thought the Oklahoma City-Denver series had some really good games.
With that one blowout?
You had one blowout at the end. That was it. So this the entire time that they get on.
Who would ever thought this defensive team, so-called the Knicks, there's 273 points scored in that game, 138 to 135.
I played the over.
This was. I mean, it was fun to watch. I mean, for that last shot, initially I thought it was a 3-pointer, but the official pointed at the line and said 2
right away.
I mean, I'm thinking Kawhi Leonard, circa 19,
Toronto Raptors, and they showed that right after.
I mean, I'm like, wow. I mean, that thing went up, and the buzzer goes off as it's coming down, and I even thought that Halliburton thought it was a 3-2 doing the choke sign with all that. A little premature.
Since you just already talked about that play, why don't you set up the sound of that play that you just broke down?
All right, here is in reference to that fourth quarter, that shot that tied it up by one Halliburton.
Halliburton. He'll take it. He'll backpedal a free for the win.
It's great that Reggie was on the call.
How apropos was that?
Yeah,
Reggie on that call.
He would have been all right if he would have kept going to the
basket.
Yeah. He could have got 2 there and a foul, and they could have won it on the foul line.
Well, that's what you're like. What are you doing? When he wanted to win it. He thought he got back far enough.
Right.
No, I question why he went into the key
first, and then
all of a sudden he backed up with no time remaining. I'm like, dude, just go to the hoop.
Well, you would have thought just to tie it up, but I think his thought was, the hell with tying it up. I'm going to go back and shoot a 3 and win this thing.
Let me just say, if you watch that game closely, what a difference that we saw from the Boston Celtics, who all they did was circle around the 3-point line. And both of those teams last night took the ball to the basket. It was great.
Connor, let's go. Let's move forward because of time and go to the post game. And let's hear from Jalen Brunson. He said he couldn't explain why the Knicks collapsed in that fourth quarter.
Can't really summarize it. Give them a lot of credit. They closed the game out like they've been doing it all playoffs. Not really good on our part. Good teams, when they have a hot shooter, they find them. So it's just not good on our part, and finding him in transition and him getting open spots.
I think you just got to give the Pacers credit. You had 6 guys with double figures. I mean, you had guys, with Toppin with a couple of those shots to slam them home off the misses back to back.
But that's their team. That's the way this team has played all year long, and it showed when they beat Cleveland as well that they had contributions from 7, 8, 9 players in almost each game.
Here's the Knicks head coach, Coach T, reacting to this meltdown by his Knickerbockers.
Halliburton hit big shots. You just can never let your guard down against them. No lead is safe. There's obviously disappointment when you fall short, but it doesn't. We have to take a look at the film, make our corrections, and then we got to change quickly for game 2. We got to be ready for game 2, and that's all you look at.
All right, last 2 sound clips are from the NBA, NBA.com. We have a couple more. Here's Halliburton on his early celebration, which goes back to what Manuch was saying with Reggie Williams, Reggie Miller, many years ago with the choke sign.
That's fun. I know it's not your goal, but you keep entertaining us. We got to go back to end of regulation. Was there any thought in your mind of taking a 2? And was there hesitation, or were you always going to come back out?
I was going for the 2, and then Mikal hit the ball. And I didn't know how much time was left, so I just tried to gather myself and knock the shot down. I thought it was a 3. I tried to hit the celly, and it didn't work, but we finished it in overtime. So, man.
And you had to do the choke sign too, right?
Yeah. Everybody's been wanting me to do it. I was going to hold it for the right time. That felt appropriate. And then, it went to overtime. So, we're going to have to save it for later.
If they would have lost.
I was just thinking that.
The New York media would have destroyed him. I mean, he was already on the cover of Daily News this morning. with his choke sign with a picture of Reggie Miller doing the same thing.
I can tell you this. I'm sick and tired of watching the New York shows because that's where First Take emanates from. And I'm so sick and tired of all of the Knicks hawks on there. And they just, for some reason, they just thought that the Knicks, they rolled the Celtics.
1 minute.
They're just going to roll these guys. And it didn't happen. And it's not going to happen. And everybody was shell-shocked.
All right, one more. Here is Nesmith regarding his team's resilience.
We're just a resilient group. I said it all the time. We just never quit on a fight, and we got a special locker room. I said it's a lot of time. We keep fighting. We keep chipping away, man. You play to the buzzer sounds. I think we're really good at that. We just played the right way. The ball fell, and we were able to make a comeback.
What's going through your mind when it bounces off the rim?
Special. I was standing right under the basket and went away straight up. That's good. That's good. So, he's special. He's a special player. He's our leader. He continues to amaze me on a night in and night out basis. So he's just phenomenal.
All right, there's your replay rewind brought to you by Lerner and Rowe. We want to thank NBC, TNT, and ESPN for all that sound. Interact, need a check, make one call. That's all. 602-977-1900 and always online at lernerandrowe.com. All right, the D-backs need $500 million to fix up Chase Field, but the politics are messy and the relocation rumors are flying. We're going to get into that next, but first, here is Jax with a Twin Peaks update.
It's the Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B's Twin Peaks ESPN 620 update. I'm Jackson Groff. The Diamondbacks lost another close battle to the Dodgers last night, falling 3-1 at Dodger Stadium. Corbin Burns was strong, retiring 11 straight batters to start the game, striking out 8 over 7 innings. But one bad pitch, a 3-run homer to Hernandez was the difference in that one. Arizona is now 3-4 against LA this season, and with 5 of those games decided by 3 runs or less. They sit at 26-24 through 50 games and open a 3-game series in St. Louis tomorrow. Zach Gallen gets the ball, and reliever Justin Martinez could return from injury this weekend. The countdown to Miss Twin Peaks 2025 is on, and voting for Miss Popular is live. Head to 2025misspeaks.com and show your love to your Arizona Twin Peaks girls. Twin Peaks, eats, drinks, scenic views. Rick Horrow next.
Summer is
It's Thursday, and welcome to Lodge Mentality. The guys are live at Twin Peaks Phoenix, located at 21st Street in Camelback. Twin Peaks, the ultimate sports lodge and home of the 29-degree beer, served in perfectly frosted 22-ounce mugs. Here's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B on ESPN 620.
All right, Diamondbacks are staring down a $500 million stadium renovation and a political mess in downtown Phoenix. House Bill 2704 is supposed to fund the fix, but not everyone's on board. Cities like Salt Lake and Portland are circling, and MLB is watching as well.
Yep.
Could we really see the D-backs leaving the Valley? I can't see this ever happening. However, politics and current political
rise. Do you think, guys, eventually that the amount of money that's going to be made from Chase Field with this, the taxes from Chase Field on all of your food and all the accessories and all the paraphernalia you buy would win out? Why would a city, and again, it's politicians. Sometimes they don't understand rationale as far as the economy is concerned. I mean, you can't, my point, afford to lose the Diamondbacks. Now, if you want to meet halfway with this $500 million, which the Diamondbacks have said that they will.
Yeah, they've already pledged $250.
They've already pledged $250.
Yeah.
So you're $250. And by the way,
there's no new taxes.
There's no new taxes. It's the money coming off from what's being made there. But what they're doing, the heartburn, guys, is they want it earmarked for maintenance versus earmarked for other areas to be supplied.
Other projects.
No, not projects, but other
It could be.
Well,
yeah. I mean, so you have the mayor, the Democrat, what's her, Kate Gallego. Yeah, she's there.
Yeah.
And then there's other Maricopa County leaders who are also on the other side.
Right.
I think that's playing into this whole damn Republican versus Democrat thing. It does play into this, and it sucks.
Well,
because they're tired of, right now, they're in a it's a very unsettling time for politicians right now. Especially people aren't in favor of what Trump's doing. There are people that are in favor. So whenever there's an opportunity to make some noise that's not about the president, here you go.
Well, I would hope everybody can raise concerns before it goes to the Senate for its final vote. You can have the concerns. You can say, okay, what are we doing? A lot of these politicians in the Senate, House is good to go. Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, they're good to go. Diamondbacks are good to go. So the final vote's got to come from the Senate. Much like, and I think, Jimmy, you brought this up, it's much like the Coyotes did not educate the constituency that voted on that tax bill would not affect them whatsoever.
That is absolutely correct.
This will not affect those people that go to Chase Field and buy product. It won't affect them at all. Their taxes, they're going to get taxed no matter what, whether it's 5% or 6%. That, what they're just saying is they're earmarking it. So I'm just hoping that the Senate folks are just wanting more education.
Well, I think I don't think it's a challenge at the Senate. The House is Republican, the Senate is Republican, but the governor is Democrat.
Well, if she has, Bible says, if it comes down to she wouldn't veto this. I would hope she would.
You don't know.
Well, the House has already said, okay, we passed it.
Okay, doesn't mean it. There's lots of bills that get passed in the House.
I know, but it's got to go to the Senate now.
Yeah, all right, Senate, I think it's going to pass it.
But I would hope that they would.
Yeah, let's just say they do. But she has the right to veto it if she wants.
Yeah, but
if she feels that this money is being misappropriated in certain ways,
I would hope
which
not.
she may, because you just brought up a good point. They want it tagged a certain way.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I understand her. She's like, hey, she's got all these people barking at her from this end.
That's correct.
That, hey, we need police and fire, we need this and that and this. And then there's some other congressmen that are also, pounding their chest too about it. Everybody's just grandstanding. And this is an opportunity for the governor of Phoenix to get some primetime television, some primetime looks.
I would hope she'd realize that this tax base that's being created by the Diamondbacks would be smart for her not to veto anything.
All right, let's because it's a talk show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's just say let's talk about these relocation rumors.
Okay.
If this deal would fall apart, gosh, I'm knocking on all this wood at Twin Peaks. I hope that doesn't happen.
Jimmy,
but
knock on your
the
head.
growing talk of them leaving Arizona, which I just could not. But come on, I mean, did you think the Baltimore Colts are going to leave and the Cleveland Browns are going to leave, and then the Oakland A's? I mean, it goes on and on. It happens.
It does.
And then Utah's got this called Big League Utah. It's a coalition that is aggressively trying to court the MLB to get a team. Oregon is in the mix with Portland. They've been trying for a long time. But when you have the Arizona Chamber of Commerce's president Danny Seddon, he came out and said, this could be just like the Coyotes.
I hope not. I think the whole Coyotes thing was just a debacle once the last one, I forget his name already. Thank God I had. Morello, yeah, got involved because that was all about a lease, being renewed a lease. And when he was missing payments, Glendale had given, here's a difference. Glendale was giving every opportunity for the Coyotes to come clean and work with them. I would hope that the Senate and the House of Senate and Board of Supervisors who are on board would work with them to do that. Because here's a team that won a World Series. They're drawing good crowds majority of the time.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, they're playing good baseball. You would just hate to see that tax base go away. What are you going to replace it with? I mean, the city of Glendale is now trying to find something to refill that hole that they have at the Glendale Arena.
And that's the Rattlers. And that's the Rattlers. That's the big rub is that they play 162 games. That's 81 dates downtown. All of those businesses, restaurants, bars, you will not be able to have that opportunity without the baseball team.
That downtown has grown so much with ASU, U of A, and NAU down there, and everything else that's starting to grow. I mean, that downtown's awesome.
It's
fun.
And I'll guarantee you guys, the folks, you just brought that up above all those people in that area. You can have their lobbyists are going to whoever's got questions. Look. We need to keep the Diamondbacks because of this, and this. Quite frankly, I would hope that common sense, they would go, wow, we lose them. All those businesses around there might fold or they might move.
Cityscape will be in serious trouble if they're gone.
So we know the stadium already has operational failures, right? You had a rare rainout, remember, due to the roof issue.
That. Yeah.
That doesn't happen. So a new stadium would cost to start $1 billion.
Easy.
This is a $500 million deal. My question to the fans, do you care about the stadium upgrades? Or do you just want a winning product on the field?
Well, I think if the stadium upgrades are hazardous to your health, I mean, they talked about some areas that they've got panels that could be falling. The air conditioning, when it's 190 out, you want to make sure you got the AC. They finally got the roof fixed this year. It's finally, they can open and close it. But they had remember last year they couldn't open and close it until people were out of the stadium.
Yeah.
So I think as a fan, make the upgrades, make sure the AC is working, make sure the toilets are working. Otherwise, I'm good.
I'm going to
with everything.
I'm going to push back because I think fans don't look at it the way that you just looked at it, because we're in the business. We understand this a lot better than fans do. Fans just want to go to the game, drink their beer, have their food, watch the game, hope their team wins, and leave.
I think baseball is different than NBA, NHL when it comes to arenas and suites and all that stuff. Baseball is one of those sports where you want to sit low.
Sure.
Yeah.
You want to be in the stands.
You
want to have a beer, have a popcorn, have your hot dog. Suites are boring, up
for
there.
Baseball,
but
absolutely.
for other sports, I think they make a lot of sense. Just like football.
Yeah.
I mean, what would you rather be in a football game? You don't want to be being in a suite's okay, all right? We've all done it.
Luxury.
But it's a luxury. But I think the diehard fans, the ones that are your regular customer,
fans.
they're coming, twice a series, and they're sitting in the stands.
Yeah.
They don't care about the amenities up there.
And the other thing, too, is I think that, for going to Diamondbacks, it's hot, close the roof, make sure that then they do have bargain prices for concessions, and you're going to go buy all your stuff. And I think you're right, Rock. I think we want to go sit in a nice seat down below and be part of the experience, which, you get a little more up close and personal in a baseball game than you can in football. Basketball is a little different.
Well, if you're a big spender, you can be on the court.
But I think this whole thing about, I don't, you think that Derek Hall and his folks want to go and find another place to uproot everything that they've got? They don't want to do this.
No. However, who doesn't want that shiny new car?
Well,
who doesn't want that state-of-the-art stadium? If I'm Derek Hall, I want a new stadium built for me, and I'll pay half. But the city's got to pay the rest,
Well,
and then do a tax in that district and be done with it. I mean, look at these new stadiums because it's just, people want to go to the new stadiums. They do.
Yeah.
And this isn't Boston. This isn't Chicago where we have a history of taking your kid there when you were little to Wrigley Field or to Boston, to Fenway. This is a team that's been around 30 years that plays indoors, and then you're lucky if the roof's open. You want the roof open when you're there.
This is one of the most transient areas in the country.
True.
People come from everywhere to live here.
Hey, coming up, from Joe Montana's farewell to Aaron Rodgers' next chapter, plus the number 1 pick signs big and the tush push survives. And the Cardinals made a quiet move at linebacker. We've got a quick blitz of football headlines next and a little NBA. That's next right here on Roc and Manuch with Jimmy.
The guys are live at Twin Peaks Phoenix, located at 21st Street in Camelback. Twin Peaks, the ultimate sports lodge and home of the 29-degree beer, served in perfectly frosted 22-ounce mugs. Here's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B on ESPN 620.
Getting a little push. The tush push.
Push in the tush.
A double cheek push here.
Push in the tush.
I'm the one who pushes the tush.
Push in the tush.
And today's vote on the tush push seals the fate for this season.
The tush push.
The Eagles posting simply, push on, after the NFL owners failed to ban the so-called tush push.
Tush push.
Yeah, that's right. If you missed it yesterday at the NFL owners meeting, a proposal to ban the tush push play used effectively by the champion, Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, was narrowly
defeated. 22.
Go ahead. You want to do the story?
I'm sorry. Just want to jump.
22 votes in favor, but needed 24.
It just to this day, this whole thing is ridiculous because it made these owners look so bad if they had banned this. 24 to 18 versus the 22 to 10. And I think that the lobbying that was going on by Mr. Laurie and Jason Kelsey with all the owners, and they said there were some heated discussions about this whole thing. And I'm like, if I'm in that owner's meeting, I'm like, well, look, get your guys learn how to stop this thing. Now, the other proposal was on the table was also that they were looking to amend it by saying, well, no polling or pushing before that rule changed, I think in like 2005 when they allowed that to happen.
So essentially all it was a quarterback sneak.
That's it.
That's it.
It would have been, okay, wait, guys, that's just a quarterback sneak.
Yeah.
The love about the tush push, you got running backs or linebackers or offensive linemen lined up behind him to help push him to get those extra 2 or 3 yards. So I think they realized that they looked so bad and they shot this down saying, you know what, we're going to allow the tush push at least for this year.
We got a lot more football we'll get to in about 3 minutes, but on this day, the Golden State Warriors in 1975 won the NBA championship by defeating the Washington Bullets. It was a sweep, and it was the first title since they relocated to California. Also, Joe Montana announced his retirement from football on this day in 1994, the four-time Super Bowl champion with the 49ers, widely regarded still as one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history. And I think Manuch may say he is number one.
I would say he's number one. I'd say 1B is Tom Brady. 4 Super Bowl rings, no interceptions, touchdown pass, the highest efficiency, won them all. And then on top of that, some of the you look at some of the divisionals that they won as well too. So I'm going to put Joe as 1A.
45 years ago today, 1980, the original Pac-Man arcade video game was released in Japan. It then got to the United States 5 months later.
So did you actually buy one of those bad boys? Did you buy a Pac-Man?
Dude, you see how big they are?
Yeah, they are huge.
Who can afford a Pac-Man? They're like $5-7 grand.
Well, you might have knowing you, Rock, you might have had one of those. You had all kinds
1980? I was 12.
Yeah. No. I mean later on down the road.
No, I have a Galaga Miss Pac-Man. Yeah, stand up. Yeah.
Okay.
But I bought that as a 45-year-old.
adult.
Yeah.
I love Pac-Man.
Remember we had it.
Game I like.
We had it at our old station.
Yes, we did. Yeah, that was kind of the thing, especially at training camp. You're going, if you had one of those Pac-Man, the bars are starting to get them slowly but surely.
Yeah, they got it.
And you're sitting there, and
it's a great game.
I got you, Pac-Man. Guys would sit there all night long.
I gotta tell you, the video games of yesteryear in the '80s they're so much better than ones now.
For what little I played, that was one of them.
They were fun. They were easy.
They were fun.
You put a quarter in, you could play. Now you need a manual.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, some football at 50. Cam Ward, he signed his rookie deal with the Titans. It was a fully guaranteed 4-year, $48.7 million contract with the Titans, so he got paid. Sadly, Jim Irsay passed away at the early age of 65. His eldest daughter, Carly Irsay Gordon, is expected to take complete control of the franchise, sharing the ownership with her sisters, Casey Voigt and Kaylin Jackson. They have owned the team since 1971. I was fortunate in 1989 to be an intern with the Indianapolis Colts, so I was around Jim Irsay quite a bit, and even his old man at the time. And what a great guy! I mean, just didn't matter who you are. You're in the elevator or whatever, and I had all geared out. I was a PR intern. But it was super cool. I mean, I liked him.
Yeah.
A lot of people have questions about him.
65 years old.
Yeah.
Just
well,
65.
he had his struggles though with drugs and alcohol, and he almost passed away like 2 years ago when they had to rush to his house, and he had passed out on the floor in his house. And the cause of death hasn't been announced, but since it hasn't been announced, everybody is speculating now that it was probably had to do with something like that.
Little sidebar. You're not wearing a T-shirt under that pullover?
Yeah. It's hot out. Yeah.
Is that a fashion?
So if it's 107, why are you wearing a pullover with long sleeves?
Because it's lightweight and I have the sleeves pulled up. That way I don't have to show off the guns all the time.
Where's your mom's gold
It
necklace?
broke.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So I got to get a new clasp.
So, yeah. How long has it been broke, Jimmy?
A couple days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, he likes showing his
Oh,
blade.
yeah.
Damn right.
You going to zip that down a little more?
Damn right. I've got.
Can we get the
I've
camera
got
on
4
him?
hairs. I have 4 hairs on my chest.
Do you shave your chest?
No.
Okay. Cardinals
I meant
signed
shave,
linebacker J.J. Russell, who previously played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's appeared in 30 NFL games. He's recorded 36 tackles, a sack, and 2 passes deflected. He is expected to be a special teams guy, maybe add some depth at linebacker.
Special teams guy, depth. Hey, you know what? Cardinals are all in with defense. You know, they're going to build it. They have that depth. They don't want to be caught short if those last 5 or 6 games, which are pretty much going to be very difficult. With the Rams in 2 of those last 5 games, you want to make sure that they're short up, not only special teams wise, but just make sure the depth is there. They don't miss a beat those last 5 or 6
I like
games.
what they're doing defensively. I think all 3 of us agree with that. But I'm still concerned offensively if they can put enough points on the board against teams that can also put points
And
on
here's
the
the
board.
other thing, too, is, you know, James Conner a little long in the tooth.
Yeah.
Can he last? I mean, he was the bell cow last
He
year.
was great last year.
But he fell off toward the end. Do they have the running back core that if he goes down?
So is Trey Benson your guy then?
Those 3 are going to have to be your guy.
Okay.
They'll go for.
Not bad.
No, not bad, but that's the
reason
whole
why they
thing.
drafted him so high, Trey Benson.
But the thing is hopefully they keep James Conner healthy, because help that offense out, because he was the key in reference to winning those games they had last year.
The White House is pausing plans for a commission on college sports, according to sources. The move is possibly rooted in its potential impact in the Senate negotiations over the college sports legislation. It's still unclear how long this pause will extend, except to potentially get U.S. senators, there's 5, led by Ted Cruz, the Republican from Texas, and Cory Booker, the Democrat from New Jersey, who are saying they need a little bit more time. This has been, a couple of years now?
How
3 years,
complicated?
3 or
How
4.
complicated is it? I mean, you would have thought that they would have figured out something.
Well, Jim, they got some bigger fish to fry, number one, than looking at college football.
I understand
So that's
that.
number one. Number 2, you got to remember that Congress passed and allowed NIL to come because of antitrust violation.
Right.
So they're kind of caught between a little bit of a contradiction here. Okay, we've let the cat out of the bag, but how do we control what's out there? So they're trying to work with the NCAA or the member schools on how they're going to make it work. So this is a nightmare is what this is.
So if the NFL has a salary cap, the NBA has a salary cap, and hockey has a salary cap, how come they can't figure out some sort of salary cap to make it work?
Got to come from the NCAA.
Yeah.
Antitrust violations right there. They already approved.
Okay.
So that'd be very difficult for them to go back and put the toothpaste back in the bottle in order to unwind this whole thing. Nobody thought about, guys went to Congress. They said, look, we're not getting the money we should be deserved because they're buying all of our stuff. Okay. The antitrust violation, NIL started. Now this started, they're relying on Congress and the House and the basic Congress to go ahead and try to get this figured out. Hell, it took the NCAA 10 years to figure out the situation in Miami?
Exactly.
With the donor, the guy was there.
I remember that one. Yes,
he was funny. It took him 10 years
Yeah.
to finally. I don't know. They gave him a 3-game suspension or whatever. Very difficult for our government to get involved.
We will discuss this in length a little bit later, but the CFP, that's the college football playoff, is moving to straight seeding. So we'll get into that a little bit later here on the program.
2 minutes.
We are going to dive into a lot of good stuff next hour when it comes to the NBA. But this CFP model, straight seeding model, man, there's some holes in it. There, if you really break it down, there's some holes, and we will get into that, which is just this can't be that difficult.
I agree.
I mean, do we just abolish all conferences and just create one?
Well,
or 2, just cut it in half the country. Just in the
East and the
East
West.
of Mississippi, boom, and then there, all the teams there, and let them battle it out, and then you have a Super Bowl.
Well, if the SEC and Big Ten had their choice,
That's right.
that would be it.
And that's what they're doing. They're running the show. We know that.
Yeah, I just look at this thing. We'll break this thing down, but I'm like, what was wrong with it the way it was? You had the teams that they won their conferences, they got the buys. Now you're pretty much thinking, okay, well, the teams at the top records. My question will be, who's going to be responsible for the seating? Are you an SEC guy? Are you a Big Ten guy? Who are going to be the indiscretionary members putting the seating together?
You got that right.
Hey, Football 50 today is brought to you by G2G Protein Bars. They have been a game changer to many, and they're now available in Costco. Just check the refrigerator section, and you'll see what I mean. You can also go online to g2gbar.com. All right, coming up, it's this week's Roc's Man Vice. Does your dog have a better social life than you? And what about the Wienermobile?
Woohoo!
What is it doing at the Indy 500? Then we'll head to New York with Brian Mahoney from Associated Press to break down the Pacers and Knicks. Then you're not going to want to go anywhere because we need a contestant for this week's Twin Peaks Picks at 2:45. That's all coming up next right here on Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B. We're live from the Twin Peaks Camelback right here on ESPN 620, 98.7 FM HD2, and we're always streaming live on the Arizona Sports app.
Sports marketing presentation. It's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B now on ESPN 620, 98.7 FM HD2, and streaming live at arizonasports.com. The guys are powered by the law offices of Lerner and Rowe. In a wreck and need a check? Make one call, that's all. 602-977-1900. And now on your ESPN station in Phoenix, ESPN 620, Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B.
They pitch it to Scatteraboo, and now it's going to be a pass. Scatteraboo throwing downfield, and it's caught. It's caught, and this is going to be a touchdown. A touchdown to Malik McClain. Malik McClain with his first touchdown catch as a Sun Devil on a 42-yard throw from guess who? Cam Scatteraboo.
How about that? That was the quarterfinal, the playoff with ASU and Texas when Cam Scatteraboo executed a remarkable 42-yard trick play, touchdown pass, which ignited them in that fourth quarter comeback. How great was that? But we turn our attention to the college football playoff as they have approved a shift to start the seeding model for the upcoming postseason. Now, this change eliminates automatic first bid buys for the top conference champions. Instead, it awards buys to the top 4 teams as determined by a selection committee ranking. Now, the move, at least by this report, is aimed to create a more balanced and competitive structure. But is this the right call? I mean, what does this fix? Because, I don't know if this fixes anything. It just drives me nuts when these try to overhaul crap when they just need to make it a 16-team playoff and be done with it. Because here's the old format. Top 6 conference champions were guaranteed playoff spots. Top 4 highest conference champions received first-round buys. So this gave the automatic advantage to the conference winners, regardless of strength of schedule or overall ranking. Now, this new format, 12 best teams are selected regardless of their conference affiliation. Remember that. Big 12. Top 4 teams overall in the CFP rankings get the first-round buys. No requirement to win your conference. You don't need to be a conference champion.
Incredible.
So then seeds 5 through 12 will play in the first round games hosted on campus by the higher seed. I'm sorry, guys.
It smells,
I
doesn't it?
It devalues conference championships right out of the gate. That's a big criticism.
Yep.
Teams could win their conference and miss the playoff or be seated lower than their non-champions, right? This could reduce the meaning and some of the urgency of conference title games, especially like if the Pac-12 survives. They need it. The ACC needs it. The Big 12 needs it, right? And then what about the Group 5 schools? I mean, they're kind of out of this now. And then all of a sudden, it's now the SEC and the Big 10.
That's it.
They are likely to dominate the top 4 buys. And it's going to be like kind of a semi-exclusive club for the SEC.
That's why it smells.
So the SEC and the Big 10 win, right? It does say the 5 highest ranked conference champions will still be guaranteed spots in the 12-man field.
Spots, but not a buy.
But exactly. But
that's not a buy. You could be 12.
And I sit there and go, and you're right, Rock. It's like, so what's the meaning behind winning your conference? And on top of that, as far as the seeding is concerned, if you're a group of 5, say you're Boise State, you better be 12-0, 13-0, and you better start scheduling, according to this as of right now, some top-notch opponents. So in those that select the top 12, at least for now, or when it's 14 or 16, you got to have some merit there when they start to seed.
This is really going to be very problematic, and here is why. Let's say you're a Big 12 team, and Manuch, I'll use your school, Kansas State.
Well, let's get somebody that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I'll use Iowa State.
Okay.
We're always there.
So
man.
Iowa State, just like last time, was in the championship game, and they played Arizona State. Okay, so let's say that Iowa State has a great record, 1 loss. That's it. And they win the conference title. However, they will not get that top 4 seed because you're going to put the SEC winner in, the Big 10 winner in. You're going to put the teams that lost in the SEC into those spots, and the same with the Big 10 in the conference championship game.
Because I think
that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I think that what the unfortunate part is, they're looking at those that seed them are looking at the strength of schedule to go, okay,
right,
Bama, you got 2 losses, but your schedule against LSU, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Kentucky, And then Iowa State, you only got one loss. You won the conference.
Yep.
But look at your schedule. Where's everybody else? So that power ranking thing, or where they look at that strength of schedule, is going to come into it.
Yeah, but here it is again, Manuch, because the SEC only plays 8 conference games.
Doesn't make any difference.
I know. And they're going to have to go to 9 for me to make this work.
They will, even if they stayed at 8. They're going to look at this. They're going to look at the teams that they played. They're going to weigh that out. Now, the team that's loving this is Notre Dame.
Oh yeah,
they're loving this right now. They end up 12-1. I'll say, hey, our schedule trumps the Iowa State schedule because of the certain teams they play.
Right.
I think with 12 spots, no automatic bids, a late loss won't matter if you're high.
Yeah, it's true.
If you're so the end of the year rivalry games, which always in most cases means something, like Ohio State, Michigan.
Yep.
All of a sudden, if Michigan's seated higher and loses, they still could be in.
Yeah.
I'm like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. When you go to 14 or 16, you want to tweak it. Okay, I get it. But I mean, it's got to have some meaning to it. Okay, I know that all the teams that had buys all lost. We just heard ASU, who could have easily won that Texas game if not for a bad no call. But they were the team, and you look at the other teams that really struggled. Boise State, they played a good first half against Penn State. I think that's what the committee looked like. Well, those 4-bye teams, nobody made it on, and Ohio State, who started from the get-go, they went through and won the whole thing. I get that. But still, there's got to be some kind of merit, some kind of a reward.
Not if you're the SEC and Big Ten. They don't give a damn.
I want to know who this committee was.
Let's just be devil's advocate here, and let's just say the positives.
Okay.
Some may say no more automatic bids to the weaker conference is a good thing. You're not going to see Cincinnati, or somebody like that wins their conference, right? So now you're going to get the top 4 teams no matter what,
right?
Regardless.
Right.
So you're rewarded there. But a team like Georgia or Michigan that finishes number 2 but loses their title game, they could still get a bye.
Sure, they could.
That's
okay?
correct.
So that's positive for the people that like this.
Yeah.
I think this removes some of the conference politics that are involved in this, because, it doesn't matter what patch you have on your jersey anymore. It's basically what you did. Maybe this increases the level of the playing field, so to speak, when it comes to all the conferences, all the independents. That's where Notre Dame would come in. Now they're going to be. This will also mean stronger first round matchups. So seeds 5 through 12 will now play real games. They're not layups. They're not throwaways. This will create more competitive, must-watch games early on in the bracket, which I think is important.
I could get used to that.
Some other things that I wrote down: first round games hosted by home teams. That's cool. I think we like that.
Yeah.
With no guaranteed auto bids, though. Will this incentivize teams to schedule tougher non-conference games?
Absolutely. You have to. If you want a shot at getting seeded,
your schedule has to be competitive.
It's got to be above and beyond where you're at. I mean, so, good luck, Boise State, trying to schedule the big dogs.
But they do, though. They schedule Oregon, and they're playing Georgia, I think, this coming year.
Okay, but that's 1 or 2 games.
Right.
We're talking about SEC and Big Ten have got throughout.
But they're in the Midwest, Mountain West Conference. They can only play within the conference.
I get it. So they're going to have to either reschedule or understand until they get a tougher schedule, or they're non-conference.
All right,
they're going to have to go back and reschedule. Now, they've got contracts for maybe 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
They're SOL. They're basically they're out of luck because they can only schedule so many.
So are you going to tell the SEC then in week 11 that they can't play Savannah State anymore? That they've got to play a better team?
That's the rub of it. Okay, so we're gonna knock you 2 pegs, but Boise State's got to take on, let's say, we got Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some kind of there should be some kind of measurement, I think.
And the SEC is going to scream bloody murder.
The mean median mode.
What do you guys think about if a powerhouse team slips in the rivalry game or slips in the title game?
Yeah.
But because they were ranked throughout the regular season, they could still get a spot,
a higher seed. They could be
that's what happened with Ohio State.
Yeah, and that's
Ohio State got beat by Michigan.
So that's the problem when
they got in.
So say Michigan beats them in the Big Ten final, and Michigan is let's say they're 13-1, and Ohio State's 12-2, and they get beat. And Ohio State wins. Michigan's got the better schedule. they might see Ohio State a higher seed or vice versa. They'll both be in the fold. Now, whether they're in the top 4 is going to be the argument for discussion.
So you could throw away Big 12 champions, Big 10 champions.
Sure.
Don't mean anything.
No,
pretty much.
But the problem
so then
with that is
if you're going to do that, then just keep going with this.
But
the 2 power conferences, like we talked about, Coach Lingo,
Jack
Lingle, who talked about this before the BCS, that, hey, let's just get 2 super conferences and be done with it.
So do you still think, with that all being said, Rock, that because of the money, the dollars and cents for your conference championship games, that you would eliminate that? But I would still have the conference championships and just hope that weekend other teams lose.
It only serves one purpose, and it's a money grab.
Well,
that's the only purpose now that conference championship games will serve. It's about dollars.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I don't know if you guys saw this. The ACC is paying out 45 to 48 million per team, so that might keep Florida State and Clemson at bay, but they raised that ruckus about wanting to leave.
They did.
So 48 to 45 million. But I think that part of the excitement is the conference championship games. So I don't know. I mean, if you're part of the selection committee, number one, I want to know who. I want transparency. Where are you from? Who your allegiances are to? Because this thing, talk about getting political. You know,
it's very political.
Versus,
all right, but let's get okay. But remember the AP top 25,
sure, yeah,
and the UPI.
I was a voter.
Right? Yeah, so I could have said the same thing back then.
Yeah,
about just scribes are actually picking these teams. Now, at least we got people that are paid by the conferences or paid by their schools that are a little bit. They live and die this sport.
Okay, so the next step is so what's the criteria going to be for this new format? It's going to be kicking this year, guys.
Yeah.
It's happened this year.
Yep.
So this is a fast track. What's going to be the criteria? How are you going to we're going to put someone on the back burner that just won a Big 12 championship at 12-1, and you got Notre Dame going in there at let's say at 9-3. Okay, where's why?
Yeah.
I want to know why and how come.
And if you are the champion in the champion game, it's meaningless if you're going to put Notre Dame in front of them.
This thing.
Or let's just say you get into a Big 12 championship,
You guys are good for break whenever.
and you are having a subpar year. You just happen to
Peak
get
yet.
on a roll at the end,
yeah.
and then you knock off Kansas or Kansas State or whomever. ASU, they've had a bad regular season. Means nothing.
Yeah.
It's like you won a bowl game, an exhibition game.
I think at this point you're just hoping to get in. They get the seeding. You got to play well enough to get seeded, whether you win or not. But again, I really believe the non-conference schedules, they can't do much now for the next 5 years because those guys are contracted.
They are
3, 5, some are 10 years out.
Yeah.
How they're going to go ahead and
See,
assuage
people
that.
don't understand that the football schedules like that are scheduled 5 to 10 years in advance.
Hey, this segment is brought to you by Chill Boys. Wearing bad underwear, a lot of you are. That's like striking out looking. Chill Boys boxers are a home run, soft, cool, and built for comfort in the clutch. Step up to the plate at chillboys.com. Use the code ESPN and score 20% off. All right, coming up, it's been a few weeks. Rock's Man Vice. Does your dog have a better social life than you? Why are people wearing soccer cleats to the store? And could adding a banana ruin your smoothie?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we got some crazy stuff we're going to get into as well. And then a reality show where immigrants compete for citizenship. You guys are going to love that one.
God.
It's all next. Rock's Man Vice here on Roc and Manuch and Jimmy B.
some chicken, maybe some sex. You know, see what happens.
Rock searches the world for tips on dating, divorce, marriage, pop culture, and even. Yeah, here's Rock's man Vice.
60% of the time, it works every time.
All right, we got a lot of stuff to get into today for Rock's Man Vice here at Twin Peaks on Camelback. Staying in this Memorial Day weekend, here's a tough question. Who's got the better social life, you or your dog? Because a new poll says that nearly 2 out of 3 dog owners believe their pup has more friends than they do. 69% say their dog is their best friend.
I could see that. You know,
That's
your dog out
a
about.
rough reality check.
Oh,
Yeah,
got it.
I
I
mean,
got it, Rob.
got what?
You're rough.
Oh,
Yeah.
Meanwhile, humans are doing their part to stay weird. There's a new viral fashion trend: wearing soccer cleats to the grocery store. It's called #BootsOnlySummer. And yes, people are walking on concrete with their cleats on.
I don't get it.
Yeah. Seriously.
Penalty kick.
That's a new fashion statement.
I don't get it. Look, I sometimes I forget to take like flip-flops with me when I get done for golf, and I can change shoes and put those on. So I have walked into a store with my golf shoes on, but only because I forgot to take the flip-flop.
I think it's funny when you see those idiots that walk into a bar and they have their golf shoes on.
Oh, yeah.
And they still have their golf glove in their back pocket.
Oh, see, I don't do that.
They're attire. They're like, they just walked off the last 18th hole.
Yeah.
Speaking of questionable choices, don't add bananas to your straw
Why?
or
Why?
to your smoothie
I don't.
if it's loaded with berries. So a new study says a banana can block your body from absorbing up to 84% of key toxins. So if you want a full health boost, keep the banana on the side.
I do.
I thought bananas were all the potassium. I thought you were supposed
Always
to have
go in
them.
and get like
Yeah.
I'll go to the whatever place. I had one yesterday, a banana strawberry smoothie
Yeah.
from one of those stores.
I used to do that as well,
These are
too.
expensive, by the way.
Yeah.
They're like $10.
Oh, yeah. But I do the smoothie in the morning. I do the banana separately. Because I like the banana earlier and then the smoothie right before I leave.
Wow.
And get out.
All right, now to motorsports and hot dogs. Now, at the Indy 500, all 6 Oscar Mayer Wienermobiles are going to be racing in the Weenie 500.
The Weenie
Yeah.
500.
Each vehicle is repped by a regional dog. So, like, there's a region for them. So, it's just going to be pretty interesting to see how that works.
I drove the Wienermobile when I was doing a game in Louisville, college basketball game, and it was outside the arena. And so I was talking to the Wiener people who brought the car there, and
Oscar Mayer.
Oscar Mayer people, and the guy said, "You want to take it for a quick spin around the parking lot?" Yeah, man, this is great. So I got a chance, at least for a couple of minutes, to drive the Wienermobile.
Flying cars. They're almost here. There's a company says that Air Car, it's a sports car with wings, goes on sale next year.
Wow.
What do you think the price tag is?
Oh, man.
Now, it needs a runway,
Yeah.
and you need to have a pilot's license.
Oh, I'm gonna say a mere $200,000.
I'm going to go at least $750.
You nailed it. $800,000.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Elsewhere, Netflix has rescued the show that we all watch, Sesame Street. Starting this
Loved
fall,
it.
new episodes will drop on Netflix and PBS on the same day. So that's pretty cool.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Sunny day.
Growing up with all those folks.
I know.
Snuffleupagus.
And if you're reheating your dinner, don't microwave the following: hard-boiled eggs, steak, seafood, chicken, or broccoli.
Okay.
Food experts say that either by you're zapping the nutrients or zapping them out,
Oh, okay.
and you're risking a mini food bomb in your kitchen. is what they say. So,
As long as it's not a food bomb in
but
my
chicken,
stomach.
you can't heat up chicken.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
have thought you could have heat up.
You can put anything in a microwave.
I did for years and years.
Yeah.
Now we got the what do you call it? The Ninja fryer.
You have the air fryer.
The air fryer. That heats.
It takes too long.
Well, that's all right.
We
But
have a fry too. It just takes too long.
keeps it moist. So, an extra 3 minutes versus 45 seconds.
Yes.
But That's the thing. It does dry it out. But sometimes when I'm hungry, I take a minute. Got the shrimp or the steak or whatever. Heat that bad boy up.
And finally, you ready for this? The U.S. government may be backing a reality show where immigrants compete for citizenship. It's called The American, and contestants would travel the country on a train, face the regional themed challenges like log rolling in Wisconsin. It's like real life Running Man, right?
Hell,
and it's a little far fetched.
Yeah.
I'm supportive of our current administration, but I'm not supportive of this.
Thank you, Rock.
However, this
finally said something right.
This is something that is just a little out there.
No,
but I will tell you, I will watch.
I don't know.
I will watch.
I saw this. I think it's so demeaning.
It's disgusting
for these people. I mean, you're gonna
You're setting it up to get citizenship.
Please. Well,
this is like how would this be bad? You're giving people an opportunity to get into our country.
I think it's a scam to get them to have everybody buying it. I'll show up.
Yeah.
Then ICE will show up.
Yeah.
Take them all out.
See ya.
Yeah.
Oh, you think that's what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Hey, have a nice trip to Paraguay.
You really think it's no?
That's what's going on now. How could you trust something like that? I mean, number one, it's demeaning. It's so far-fetched. It's ridiculous how far-fetched it is. And it's so demeaning to these people are trying to get legitimately become legal in this country or come across with their paper, with their F1 visas and what have you. And then have them, well, hey, you can stay if you win the log rolling or the stone pushing contest. Just bad idea.
Just go away.
Yeah, just bad idea.
You guys just no fun. I mean, what did you watch last night? If you weren't watching the NBA game or the Dodgers D-backs, why not just watch some mindless television?
Yeah,
I did. I watched wrestling.
Yeah, mindless. Let's not demean everybody. Okay, unbelievable something like that. I mean, it's kind of like we're gonna. What do we got? We got animals. We put them out there like in a dog show, going up and down. Hey, if you could go ahead and do this, we'll grant you your being here a citizen. They got to go through the process. Just a very ill-advised thing to put something out there like that, in my opinion.
That's fine. I just don't know what the deal is. It's like, why not?
Wait, you already came out and you found it. You don't like it.
You put them on
but the more I talk about it, I'm like, all right, this gives an opportunity to get into the United States.
I just
it's better than them getting in illegally.
Well,
what's the alternative? Get in illegally or go through this route? Which one would you support? Which one would you support? You have two choices.
To come in, get the proper paperwork.
But that's not the question. Our poll question doesn't say that. The poll question says A or B. A,
I know what
illegally come in, or B, go through this reality show.
I would never want them to illegally come in, and I would never want them to be on display like a bunch of animals for the sake of trying to get.
I don't think they're going to be
like the lions and the Christians.
Well, here's the thing: you're putting them out there like, oh, hey, hey, look, exactly right. It's kind of like the Roman Empire. Let's put them out there and see who wins. Who wins the?
What if there's only like 3 people on the show? They're just following these 3 people.
Wrong, Rock. It's just if
they get through it, they're gonna have a.
Yeah, well, this isn't Survivor.
Well, it kind of is.
Yeah,
it's better than going in illegally.
That's
all right. Coming up next, we're gonna go to New York. We're gonna catch up Associated Press sports writer and editor Brian Mahoney. We'll look back to Game 1 of the Pacers and Knicks. But first, here's Jax. He has a Twin Peaks ESPN 620 update.
It's time for your Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B's Twin Peaks ESPN 620 update. I'm Jackson Groff. The Diamondbacks lost another close battle last night to the Dodgers, falling 3-1 last night at Dodger Stadium. Corbin Burns is the highlight, retiring 11 straight batters to start the game and striking out 8 guys over 7 innings. But one bad pitch led to a 3-run homer for Hernandez was the big difference. Offensively, Marte provided the only spark for Arizona's offense with a solo home run. Arizona now 3-4 against LA this season, with 5 of those games decided by 3 runs or fewer. They sit at 26-24 through 50 games. Tomorrow in St. Louis, Zach Gallen hit the ball, and reliever Justin Martinez. Arizona Cardinals news as well have played Sean Murphy Bunting on reserve non-football injury list, ending his 2025 season before it even began. The countdown to Miss 2020 Peaks is on. 2025 MissTwinPeaks.com.
I was in a wreck. I needed.
Now back to Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B. Now on ESPN 620.
Outside, I don't know what that controversy there was. Neesmith, it's a three. It's a 2-point game. It's a 2-point game with 22 seconds to go.
All right, let's head to the Big Apple and break down a wild game one at Madison Square Garden. The Pacers, they rallied late. They stunned the Knicks in front of a shocked New York crowd. Joining us now is longtime AP sports writer and editor, a man who's covered this team for many, many years and used to be one of our regulars before he made it big. Brian Mahoney joins us now here on ESPN 620 Phoenix. Brian, Roc and Manuch, and Jimmy B, how you doing, buddy? How you been?
I'm still waiting on that getting big part, but otherwise I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing well. All right, Brian, let's start with that Pacers run. What shifted the momentum in their favor late? What was it that really just – is it Nesmith?
Well, he was number one for sure.
Yeah.
To get – he got historically hot there in a playoff game. I kind of felt bad. Didn't almost get him enough attention because of Halliburton, but Naismith was incredible. So that was number one for sure. Then Knicks had some breakdowns, which certainly helped. They left some guys open, including him. But that was the key. I mean, if he misses even one or two of those, they ran out of time to make a comeback. But he did not miss at all in that last closing stretch, the last 4 minutes, whatever it was of regulation. And that kept them in it long enough for Halliburton to tie it up for him.
Brian, I thought it was interesting. You talk a little bit of sloppiness there by the Knicks in that fourth quarter, especially those last 2 minutes. But the turnover, 17, very uncharacteristic for a Knicks ball club. Was it the pace of the Pacers that may have unnerved them a little bit there at the end of the game?
I think part of it's the pace for sure. That's a fast game, and a lot of it is probably fatigue. As much as maybe sometimes it gets overharped on, it is the bottom line fact that the Knicks don't go very deep at all. The Pacers are one of the deepest teams in the league. And, when you play that kind of pace and you got to have on the floor as long as they do, you're going to be tired at the end a little bit. And they made some fatigue mistakes. Jalen Brunson, usually, one of the best finishers in the NBA, certainly had some errors that you don't normally see from him. And the other guys short on shots late, missing free throws, a lot of stuff that, look, it's a challenge when you play the Pacers, and it's a challenge that came back to haunt the Knicks at the end of the game.
Brian, my question is, and you just talked a little bit about what Brunson had. He turned the ball over 7 times, uncharacteristic. He also had 5 fouls, which cost him time on the bench. So that was a factor in the game as well. But your point about the pace of the game, the Knicks play one of the slowest offenses in the game. The Pacers play one of the fastest. They played extremely fast last night, meaning that the Knicks did. If the pace stays the way it is that going to be the downfall of the Knicks in the next couple games?
Well, they could win that way, but certainly it's the way the Pacers want to play the game for sure. If it stays at that pace, the Pacers are going to be very happy about it. Now, look, when you look at the box score, it isn't like the Pacers kind of shut the Knicks down. The Knicks scored more than enough points to win. You take away, say, 2 defensive lapses, and they win the game. So even as much as the Pacers got the game they really want to, fatigue, all the kind of things we talked about that certainly you think favor Indiana, the bottom line is the Knicks should have won the game anyway. So, over the course of the series, if it stays this way, maybe Indiana has much more advantage than they do right now. But no matter how last night played out, it should be 1-0 the other way than it is.
Is Jalen Brunson doing too much, or does New York need him to be like a superhero for them to win the series?
It's a really good question because I thought they needed him to be a superhero in the series. But then you look at last night, they built that lead when he was on the bench in the fourth quarter. When he picked up the 5th foul, he went out. They hit him right then with a 14-0 run, built a 16-point lead. So it's not like they can't play without him. And then sometimes he comes back in the game, and I think it almost went to, I'd call like the NBA version of a prevent defense. Like they were trying to run out the clock and have him hold the ball and run the clock down, and he made some turnovers. So they need to balance it better. They need him to be great for sure, but they also need to not rely on him all the time. They've shown they can, do well when it's not just him, and they did it last night, and then they got away from it late.
Right, you would think, as you alluded to, that the Knicks seem to wear down. Look, that Thibodeau plays a lot of his guys, not a real deep bench. Did this game, as far as the Knicks are concerned, or the fans there in the Garden, prove that they can hang offensively? And even though they might have wilted at the end, I guess the biggest question would be, can they do this if this thing goes to a 7, 5, 6, 7 game series?
Yeah, I think that's the ultimate question. That Indiana, I'm sure, would say no. Indiana, their strategy, it seems like short term and long term over the course of the series is wear them down. In each game and over the course of whatever it goes, 4 through 5 through 7, whatever. But the Knicks, they can find a way to do this. Again, they were scoring even last night. I think the Pacers hit their first 9 shots, and it was only like 20-16. It wasn't like the Knicks can't hang with them. Now, again, you're talking you've got to play another 40 minutes from there, and that's what wore the Knicks down. But, if they can find a way to get some stops while they're scoring like that, and they scored against them that way in the regular season, the Knicks had some big nights against them. So, again, there's a lot for them to feel good about, but the bottom line is they lost the game. They're probably not going to play as well as they did, and they didn't win it. So that's a real bummer for them. That's the kind of loss that's hard to come back from, bottom line.
Brian Mahoney's our guest on the Right Toyota guest line. We're talking Pacers Knicks. Okay, so Tyrese Halliburton was voted as the most overrated player in the NBA. Has he changed that opinion with what he has done, A, against Cleveland, and then last night against the Knicks?
Yeah, I'm still not sure why he got those votes.
I'm with you.
Because I don't see that at all. I mean, I see him getting to Indiana a couple of years ago and then playing better, him playing better, becoming an all-star. I think what it is, honestly, my best guess is that people look at the system they play and they say anybody's going to put up numbers on there. They play fast with a pace. They run the ball up and down the floor. So why can't some guy get 20 and 10, even if he's not all that good? But, they're not scoring late in the game the way he has because of their pace. That's the ball in his hands and him hitting big shots. That has nothing to do with his style of play. So, I think he's got to have won over some people. I think he's going to win over some more as the rest of the playoff goes on because he is not an overrated player in my mind. He's awesome.
Brian, you talk about the depth of the Pacers and Halliburton and Neesmith and Toppin, who have you. Watching that game last night and watching them prior to, what is the one thing that you see in person that maybe a lot of us don't see when on TV per se as you watch that game up close and personal?
Well, you could see guys who, the thing I talk about sometimes is, it's an old saying, there's depth and there's sort of quality depth. Any team can bring 3 or 4 guys off the bench and, give me a couple minutes here and there. But when the Pacers bring McConnell in and Toppin in, these guys could start. And these are, they can just leave bench guys out there for a long time. And even last night, Miles Turner's shooting the ball very well early and Toppin's coming in the game for him late. They trust those guys and everything. And that's a big difference. Again, a lot of teams can call on guys. The Pacers call on guys and, they can either increase leads, comes back, whatever, play the same kind of style they were playing. Nothing changes. So you just don't see what they have in a lot of teams.
Karl Anthony Towns had a terrific game last night. Is he going to have a repeat of that style of game the rest of the way for the Knicks to have a chance to win?
I think so because he was their best scorer against them in the regular season. He had 30 points a game in those 3 matchups. So it's something they know that they can exploit the way they defend him. Boston did a good job in the previous round, sort of limiting him by putting smaller guys on him, kind of forcing him to go into the post, which is not necessarily the way he likes to play. He likes to be on the perimeter, shoot threes. So, he gets to do that against Indiana, and he had a good game last night. But, on the flip side for Knicks, he's got to defend better. A couple of breakdowns late were him having, maybe not switching to the right guy, being late on rotations, things like that. Defensively, they're better when, their backup, Mitchell Robinson, is in the game. But obviously, you can't take Towns out. You need the scoring.
Clear to toss to break.
You got to score with them. So he has to be on the floor. They need big nights for him, but they need him to ratchet up the defense a little bit.
All right, as we let you go, did you happen to get a street named after you, like all the rest of the Knickerbockers? Come on, Brian.
I'm not sure.
I'm a Philly guy. You got to act like you've been there before. Come on. What is that? These players.
It's funny. I mean, some people thought it was cute. There's fans who were into it, and probably a lot of fans feel the way you just feel. Like, come on, you're in the conference finals. You got your 8 wins away from. Let's take it easy.
Yeah, get to the finals first. Hey, Brian, we miss having you on, man. Thanks so much for making some time for us today.
Guys, take care.
That's Brian Mahoney, Associated Press sports writer and editor there in New York. Follow him on X at Brian C. Mahoney. Appreciate his time. He's been coming on with us for almost many years now. So good stuff. All right, we're looking for someone brave to take on one of the gorgeous Twin Peaks girls from the Camelback location. So if you think you got what it takes, you can prove it, or you can go down in flames like the last guy. Actually, Dave won last week. So you're going to compete against one of the young ladies here at Camelback. It's Carolyn, who's been really, really successful. You'll pick Timberwolves at Thunder, Pacers at Knicks tomorrow, and then again, Saturday night, Thunder at the Timberwolves. We'll need the winner and score on that one. So get on board, 602-230-0620. That's 602-230-0620. It's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B.
Tired of
The Twin Peaks girls are the essential ingredient to the perfect lodge experience. Each week, our Girl Next Door Twin Peaks contestant takes on an ESPN 620 listener for 3 games. Get the most picks right. Win a $25 man card for one of the 5 Valley Twin Peaks locations: Scottsdale, Phoenix, Glendale, Tempe, and Deer Valley. Now, time for Peaks Picks.
All right, we're out here at the Camelback location. By the way, May 25th is National Wine Day, so the lodge will have all kinds of specials going on, and then the Indy 500 as well on that day. So you can hang out here and watch all 500 miles and hang out and drink some 29-degree drafts and handcrafted cocktails. Of course, Monday they'll be open too for Memorial Day. But Caroline's here from Minnesota.
Hello.
So we get to talk. 2 of the games that you're picking have to do with your team. So do we even need to go through it, or
I'm picking Timberwolves both nights.
Okay, all right. Well, let's see, because you're competing against Mike in Deer Valley. So let's start with the first one tonight, as the Thunder are hosting the Timberwolves. You know the series is 0-1, right? Okay.
I do.
So why do you think it'll be different tonight?
I'm hoping that Anthony Edwards comes out with a fire lit underneath him. His ankle's okay. He's looking to take down the Stars, and I think he's going to do that.
She checked the injury report. I said, is Ant-Man going to play? I didn't see it on the injury report, so he's good to
Wow,
go.
guys. Yeah, that's pretty solid.
She's dialed in.
Solid here at Twin Peaks Camelback. I'm behind the bar, by the way. All right, who's Mike going with there, guys?
Mike from Deer Valley is going with the Timberwolves tonight.
Okay. So both going with Wolves.
Go with the 2.
Okay.
All right. Second game, maybe it's another shootout tomorrow night. The Pacers at the Knicks. Will we see another shootout? Can the Knicks rebound, pardon the pun, and tie it all up? What do you got there, Caroline?
I think the Knicks.
All right. At the Knicks there. All right. What's our good buddy Mike got?
Mike from Deer Valley has the Pacers going up 2-0.
Wow. Okay. So then Saturday, the series between Oklahoma City and Minnesota shifts back to Minneapolis. So not only do I need the Saturday night winner, I also need a score, Caroline. Where are you?
All right. I am taking the Timberwolves on Saturday night.
Wow.
And for the score, I'm thinking Timberwolves 107, Thunder 97.
Okay. What about Mike in Deer Valley?
Mike in Deer Valley has the Thunder beating the Timberwolves 101-92.
101 to
Defensive
92.
game.
Yeah.
How's that a defensive game?
101-92. That's a defensive game. These guys both
There's
put it.
6. If there's 3, if it's in the hundreds, that's defense.
Here's the thing. Oklahoma City's averaging 117 points per
They
game.
are.
They're in Minnesota was until they played the other night.
Right.
But they're all averaging above 108, 117, 108.
It's hard to say.
Minnesota was
If
around
there's a game in the
110.
hundreds, that it's a defensive
Well,
battle.
these both teams can score. They open down. Look at their averages. It's a defensive. That's a pitcher's duel.
All right, Caroline, tell us what's going on here today here at Twin Peaks in the weekend. And do you work weekends too?
I do.
Okay, so when do you want people to come visit?
I would love you to come in every single day. I feel like I'm here every day, and I love it. In 10 minutes, we have our happy hour starting. $2 off draft beers, $2 off of some of our best appetizers. Come in and check it out.
So what's the give us the if your go-to beer, draft beer right now?
Go-to draft
What's
beer.
your best seller right now?
Best seller is always going to be one of our house beers, a dirty blonde or a naughty brunette. Personal favorite is a Walker 805.
The 805, really?
Mm.
You have church music?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
We
good.
do.
Yeah, but it's a beer. Not a,
That
it's not-
sounds like
yeah.
Walker
Very
805.
popular one, I believe, too.
By the
So-
way, now when the Timberwolves are on, you're working. Are you trying to sneak a peek?
I
position
have-
yourself.
I make sure that select TVs have the Timberwolves on so I can keep an eye on what's going on.
Spoken like a true fan right there.
That's it. Carolyn, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Caroline joining us here from Minnesota. She's one of the bartenders here at Twin Peaks Camelback. As she says, I think she's undefeated. I think she's been
Yeah,
undefeated.
she has
not
not
lost here. She's had a lot of success. All right, let's get to some of our random facts of the day. Here's one. I have 2 today.
Okay.
The Chicago Bears have retired more jersey numbers than any other NFL team. You know what that number is? How many jerseys?
Oh man. Oh, I'll say
I got to think because it goes all the way back to
Yeah,
George
go way
Halas.
back.
Yeah.
I'll go 30. 30
Wow.
of them.
I'm going to go 45.
Jax?
Give me 26.
14.
Wow.
I would have to think See, here's the difference. There's retired jerseys.
Yeah.
Then there's Ring of Honor.
Well, that's
right.
that's
like they're running out of space for the Cardinals, for a team that's never won a Super Bowl. They have so many.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Suns.
Yeah.
Yes.
You just play more than 3 years and you get your number up there.
Yeah. How do you start What do you do as far as put them on there?
What do you cut the, I mean, who's the last one?
I can't.
Sean Marion, maybe?
Yeah, Sean Marion. I can't believe that it's only 14 and the history of the Chicago Bears winning a NFL championship 73-0.
Yeah.
Walter Payton and Dick Buckus.
Oh, I know.
It goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
Singletary.
Hey, Dick's Sporting Goods has entered into a $2.4 billion agreement to acquire Foot Locker.
Mm-hmm.
$2.4 billion?
Yep.
Are they going to
Foot Locker has 2,400 retail stores across 20 locations. How about that?
Do they keep the name? Foot Locker? Is that the one thing they're gonna do?
I got to find that out. Yeah, are they going to keep that, or are they just going to? Is everything then just going to be Dick?
I would probably say that probably from marketing standpoint.
I would. Yeah,
they would probably keep that from that particular standpoint. All right, guys, let's get a little football at 50 here. Give me a little football 50 music. If you haven't heard, college football playoffs. Thinking the seeding is going to be with pretty much the top ranked teams. If you win the division, forget it. You'll be thought of. But you're pretty much
thought of.
Yeah, you'll be thought of. They will say that if you win your conference, you will be guaranteed to be in the 12-team playoff, but you will not be guaranteed to be a top seed.
Mm-hmm.
So the top seeds are pretty much top ranked. Whoever they are, will go ahead and rank the top seeds from that particular standpoint. You'll get the 1 through 12. Basically, the Big Ten and the SEC, they win here. Now, here's my question to you, Jimmy. Who are the guys that are going to go ahead and pick the seedings? Where are they from? Notre Dame's got to love this. They got to love something like this. And on top of that, if you can win your conference, but you might be seeded 8th.
That's
so
correct.
no more conference winners are going to be top seeded.
So the conference championship games will become neutered. And if let's say, I'll just use an SEC.
That's a heck of a way of putting it.
Yeah, I'll just use a SEC example. Georgia plays Alabama in the championship game. Georgia they play 12 games now. So Georgia is 11-1. Alabama is 10-2.
Right.
Alabama beats them.
Yes.
So now they are, I know. So you're going to have those two teams be part of the 4, and then you're going to find 2 other teams, most likely from the Big Ten, who are going to be part of the 4 that are seeded.
To your point, the team you beat could be seeded higher than you in the 12-team playoff.
Right.
Yeah, this thing is just absolutely nuts. This just dropped, as you heard Jackson talk about it, our latest update. Cardinals have placed cornerback Sean Murphy-Bunting on the reserve non-football injury list. Now, that ends his 2025 season.
Wow.
Before it begins. Now, we're going to catch up with Howard Balzer here at 3:30 and see if he knows what the situation is. We don't want to speculate. We don't know if it's health issues or mental issues or PED, whatever it is.
Well, don't speculate.
Well, it could be a handful of things. This is just something here's your guy's going to be your starting corner.
He was.
Slotted to be on your starting corner, and I felt done a very, very good job. So for you Cardinal fans, we just talked about earlier about this Cardinals defense. Depth, they'd be good to
2
go.
minutes.
And there you have Sean Murphy-Bunting is not going to be a part of this football team. He'll be on the non-injury reserve list for this team.
That is a stunning revelation that it hit today. And also, how is that going to impact that rookie class? There's a guy there, Will Johnson.
Yes,
I would say that he's going to get a lot of looks during training.
Well, he could pretty much be slotted in, but he's still going to have to prove it when you look at everything. So you look at it right now, and you look at him going on. So right now, cornerback Starling Thomas the 5th. The other corner, or would they say would be Will Johnson? To your point.
Yeah.
And but you put a rookie out there on the island like that.
Hey.
Can you see a lot of cover two, cover
Sauce
three?
Gardner played for the
Yeah,
Jets as a rookie right there.
He did, but I mean that's a huge hit.
He's got a 3-year, $25 million contract that he signed in last year around this time, I think, or March of 2024. Does that money go against the cap?
Well, if he's still
if he's on reserve, non-football,
yes, it does. He's still on non-injured reserve. He's still they didn't cut him. He's still on the non-injured reserve.
Yeah.
So it's like nobody got hurt, got injured reserve, and then non-injury reserve list. So yes, that will count.
All right, stadium battles, billion-dollar sports deals. Rick Horr, the sports professor, will join us next to talk about the D-backs' future and House Bill 2704. And he will join us as well as we will catch up, as you just heard Manuch say. Howard Balls are talking some more Cardinals football. It's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B right here on ESPN 620 and on FM at 98.7 HD2.
Live at ArizonaSports.com. The guys are powered by the law offices of Lerner and Rowe. In a record need a check? Make one call, that's all. 602-977-1900. And now on your ESPN station in Phoenix, ESPN 620, Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B.
All right, D-backs, they need $500 million to fix up Chase. But the politics are messy. The relocation rumors are flying. Is Arizona about to lose another professional sports franchise? I don't think so. However, stranger things have happened. Coyotes are a completely different situation.
Yep.
Bankruptcy, the league ran them, and we go on and on about that. But when you have a situation like the Diamondbacks, that a stadium that's 30 years old, that needs some improvements, and you've had the House of Representatives here in Arizona vote yes, they're on board. Diamondbacks putting in half of it, $250 million.
Rick's good to go.
And then then the Senate, which will probably vote, they're Republican. However, the mayor is Democrat, and she can veto it. So we figured it's very appropriate because our next guest is sports professors in D.C., I believe, doing a speech on this kind of stuff. Is that true, Rick? Are you doing speeches on financing of stadiums and things of that sort?
Hey, good day. I'm giving speeches on the broad application of sports business and what it means to cities to use sports as a relocation tool for industry, which of course means advocating facilities as well. And I'm also giving a speech on how to glom onto parking spaces that are committed by friends in the radio business, and it never happened. So everybody's going to listen to that part.
All right, Rick, you've covered these, you follow them, you've been employed with these stadium deals all across the country. Is there a real threat here with relocation with the D-backs?
Well, yeah. Here's the thing: every team needs a house and a new house, and I'm not being overly dramatic about this, but if you don't have your facility for an extended period of time, everything else kind of grinds to a halt. You can't do great TV deals. You can't do concessions. Your payroll is questionable. So it's really important for anybody, not just the Diamondbacks, to get a legitimate public-private partnership that is important for their long-term future. So I'm not the one to talk about the details and which 250 gets done and how that's done, et cetera, et cetera. There's a wide variety of approaches that cities and markets do, and some markets work better than others. I will say that in tourist destinations, public-private partnerships make a lot more sense because they do attract tourists, and you do have ways to pay for it that are tourist-related that wouldn't be as appropriate in cities that don't have those dynamics. So, look, it's a very difficult situation, and when I cut my teeth on it in Miami, you had failure, one after another, and then finally you got it done. And you got it done when everybody perceived that the time was running out. So maybe that's a factor.
When you look at, say, the top 20 cities, and we're one of them, we're up there, what percentage is it public-private, the public-private model? Is it 90%?
Well, yeah. So that's the thing. There are cities, and it's not just population. There are, tourist-based cities where the public sector spends a big preponderance of the dollars. Look at the Miami deal. Look at the arena deals in tourist cities. Look at the baseball deals in warmer weather communities. The bigger markets, meaning the LAs, New Yorks, you have less reliance on the public money because the private sector is so large and they can pay for more of it. So it really does go over all over the lot, but it has to be a meaningful contribution by both parties or it's not going to work.
Well, at this point, and then you talked about urgency. The lease for this Diamondbacks ball club is 2027, Rick. Can they have a year-by-year lease until they get this figured out? Or as far as the city is concerned, maybe the Diamondbacks, maybe they figure we want to get this figured out now because if we have to move, we got to make plans now. So when you talk about urgency, is this something that's got to be decided within the next 2 months or 3 months, knowing that 2027 is the end of your lease?
Well, you don't have to work backwards for when the shovel has to be in the ground. You work backwards from, when a team is willing to make the commitment as a partner with the public sector. So you see some of these deals where they do a year-to-year extension because they know the facility is going to get done, and it's not going to get done maybe by the exact time a lease is finished, but the commitment is there. So you're willing to be a little more flexible. A lot of other situations, the Oakland situation is a good one. They could have spent another year or two up in Oakland, but they knew that they weren't going to get it done. So they end up with the deal in Vegas. But in the meantime, Sacramento gets the team 1, 2, and maybe another year. So it really does depend on the partnership between the public sector and the team.
All right, so the partnership right now here in Phoenix, it's a little bumpy, and you have cities that are salivating. Salt Lake City's interested. Portland is interested. Nashville is interested. Are they already making inquiries to the owner of the Diamondbacks saying, hey, if things don't work, come talk to us?
Well, and I don't know that. And if I were to speculate, it would be a disservice to the community because I know all the parties. And you ought to ask Derek Hall and you ought to ask Ken Kendrick, and they'll tell you what they'll tell you. But I will tell you that there are a lot of markets out there that really want a team, and it doesn't matter, frankly, to each of those markets whether it's expansion or relocation. Nashville. I'll tell you, Nashville, Salt Lake, as we said, Monterrey, Mexico, Charlotte. There are any number of communities that would love a Major League Baseball team and would ante up for it, and so there is a dynamic to this that is way beyond just one deal. And the other thing that I've noticed, and I really believe it, and I could write a book about it. Oh, I already did. The deals usually happen at the head of a gun at the last minute. And I will say that if a team leaves, you guarantee it's going to cost twice as much or even more to replace. If you don't think so, look at Houston after the Oilers left. Look at St. Louis after the Cardinals left once, and then again. All of these deals, just absolute fact, it takes a lot more to get a team back when the community realizes, hey, we should have done X to keep him here.
So I got two parts of my question here. $500 million needed for maintenance. Number one, why would they allow this to go up so high? Haven't they been doing maintenance the last 30 years? And number two, they want to specifically earmark all the taxes at the stadium to go toward that maintenance. Where would those taxes go if they weren't earmarked? Do they just go to the district, the downtown area, and per se, versus being funneled just for maintenance?
Yeah, and the reason I'm not going to get specific,
3 minutes.
There's so much detail in all of that. That here's the thing people ought to remember. The money in these deals can be treated in different ways. You got tax money in, you've got dollars that aren't going to be significant teacher welfare or stadium dollars. These monies will come from other sources that are geared to tourism. So that's first. The second piece of this is that somebody's got to take care of. And it's not just, turning a screw or putting in a light bulb. If you're talking about maintenance, you're talking about something that's going to keep a facility going for years and years and years. So this is foresightful. This is looking ahead. And so if you look at all of this together, it's a combination of capital improvements. It's a combination of ongoing, making sure the facility is tip top for years to come. And you put it all in a pot, and some of it is going to come from the public sector and some of it's going to come from a team. Just to keep it simple, if you say you're earmarking this piece and it should go to this or the other, I don't think that's the key to the debate. I think the key to the debate is, do you have willing participants in both sides to make this deal happen?
Rick, I know you're busy doing speeches, signing autographs, all that good stuff, but have you peeked into the college football playoff, moving to a straight seating model, and how much of a financial impact do you think that will create?
Of course you have to peek into it. And And so, what I think is going to happen is that it's constantly going to be tweaked.
Mm-hmm.
And every time the college football model is going to be tweaked, it's going to be more money and more games that are set out separately. And I think we have a really good tiger by its tail. And, if you don't think so, think back from your neck of the woods of, how Arizona State fared in those playoffs. Many people are thinking that, well, maybe they shouldn't have gotten that high seed. But look at the stories that came out of college football this last year.
Yep.
It is immense. And it's not signing autographs here. I'm on a year-long quest. Maybe I'm too intense about this, but I got to get parking spaces in places I go because I can't rely on my friends anymore.
But here's the thing, though. I mean, you don't need to rent a car anymore because you get the black car service, right? So the parking thing has been thrown out. I think we've been going back and forth on the parking thing for 10 years now on this show. I mean, what is it going to take for it to go away?
There was one way. I'll tell you how you could have made it go away. Year one, you could have done it, and it would have been pretty easy. But now we're going to go through this for the rest of your natural life, pal. So get used to it.
That's your penance, right? By the way, you're in D.C. It was going to take an act of Congress to get that parking pass. You're right there.
Yeah, well, but I'm going to triple and double and quadruple park, and because of all the budget cuts, there's going to be nobody to enforce it.
Exactly.
Anyway, so I'm going to be calm.
With all the rumblings out there, the College Sports Commission plan has been paused. Is this going to continue to just go back and forth, start, stop, and will there ever be an end?
Yeah, but it's not going to be tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be, look, I look at it as a very practical, everybody's trying to come up with a solution, and you'd rather have them go back and forth, as you call it, than not have any movement at all. So I don't see this as the end of the world.
Rick, we'll let you get back. I mean, I'm sure with the time difference, you're getting ready. Big, I'm sure Ruth, Chris, Mastros, Morton's all waiting for you. Do they always have a table for you?
It's a double dip. I'm going to Ruth at 8 and Chris at 9.
There you go. There you go. Tiramisu.
How's that?
All right, buddy. Thank you as always.
See you next week.
You
Bye.
got it. Rick Horo, the sports professor, joining us from D.C., as he's been part of a lot of deals. He brought Major League Baseball to Florida. And he had been working, I believe, with Michael Bidwell a little bit when they were trying to get this stadium deal done. So he's
dialed in.
He's dialed in with the stadium.
He's in the know. I thought he brought a lot of good
And you
points.
notice he didn't want to stay much.
Interesting.
And that's just from experience. He did go to Northwestern, did go to Harvard, so I get it. It's like he said, it's a tough spot to be in.
I think at the very end where he said that the rub is the spending of the monies for the taxes, because they want to make sure that money that the stadium is all earmarked for maintenance. And he just looked at you, well, that's not as easy as it sounds. They want that money to be spread out.
Doesn't clear to toss whenever.
That's going to be the key to get this passed.
And I think that's why the mayor of Phoenix is saying, hey, well, wait a second.
Yeah.
I want to know exactly where this money is going.
I get that.
We'd love to hear from you. What happens if Chase Field falls apart and the D-backs can't get it renovated? Do they move? Do they build new? Or do they leave the state entirely? We're taking your calls next at 602-230-0620. That's 602-230-0620. It's your team. It's your valley. It's your call. 602-230-0620. It's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy
screening Camelback. Twin Peaks, the ultimate sports lodge and home of the 29-degree beer, served in perfectly frosted 22-ounce mugs. Here's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B on ESPN 620.
All right, what should the D-backs do if Chase renovations fall through? 602-230-0620. That's 230-0620. You know, some options out there is stay and privately fund the stadium themselves.
You mean pay for
it all.
Pay for it all.
100 million, or excuse me,
500
million, yeah, 500.
Yep.
Or you just start trying to fund a new one. You know, I love to know what happened with all the talk at Salt River Fields.
Yeah.
And the Salt River community.
It died.
Because there was a lot of talk that 101 and McKellips over in that area was a great spot that I thought was going to come to fruition, possibly for an arena deal too, that I was kind of privy to, but then that fell through.
Was that where the old movie theater used to be?
No. I'm talking more east.
More east, okay.
Behind Casino Arizona.
Okay.
All that land.
All right. A lot of good land right there. Here's my thought. I think a lot of fans, and I think the downtown area would love for Ken Kendrick and his partners to pony up $500 million for that.
Put it where?
But he might. No, I mean for to cover the maintenance, number one. But if I'm going to do that, and let's just say it costs 1.5 billion for new facility.
I see where you're going.
I might go, wait a second.
Yeah.
If I'm going to spend $500 million as a down payment, I'd rather go get this. You mentioned that bright new shining house.
Yep.
And do that, have all the modern technology, have all the modern stuff, and go find a piece of property. I want to stay in Arizona. I want to stay in Phoenix proper and go wherever you think get the best deal. That'd be the bang for your buck.
Or do you keep fighting it and fight for the public money? Because, like to your point earlier, Jimmy, you know, people don't like the word tax.
Tax, sure.
Yep.
However, I am such in favor of district tax. In other words, if you're going to go into that district, you know, and it's going to cost you another 0.5% to order a beer or have dinner, fine.
I'm good with that.
It's part of the deal.
Yep.
It's the other people that are not going to a game downtown.
There you go.
Are the ones that are bitching.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that this has got to be a two-way street. It's got to be a win-win. But for the city of Phoenix, they've got to understand that, hey, you don't want your tenant, your downtown tenant. You got the Suns, you got the Diamondbacks. You don't want them leaving. You want them to get. You don't want that big store right there, and then you want it to move. You got two tenants.
That anchor.
You're bringing all this business. Oh my gosh, what a novel concept!
And
all this business
there too.
A lot of money.
All right, this is going to sound terrible, but devil's advocate there. Our downtown is thriving.
Sure, it is.
It is,
and it could still thrive without a stadium down there.
Yeah, I get it. It'll survive.
I'm not saying D-backs leave. I would love to see them go to Scottsdale.
Right.
But the city would still thrive. I mean, shoot, they put a Fry's down there.
Yeah. They did.
I mean, the buildings, the condos, the apartment living. I mean, it's the place to live now. It's downtown Phoenix.
Yeah, and I can see that it'll still thrive. But I mean, I think for the convenience's sake and all that extra money coming down in there during that 81 game schedule, if they're going to be at home.
Yep.
Plus whatever else they have there. I mean, here you have this thing. Then
concerts, truck pulls, all that different stuff that they do there.
You just gotta hope that the Senate and all the powers that be, House is on board. Maricopa County supervisors, they're on board. It's just the last hurdle.
I think the key though, and Rock touched on it earlier, is they have to be assured, meaning Kate Gallego, the mayor, has to be assured that that is what the money is going to go for and not something else.
Well, they'd have to have checks and balances.
They would have to have all of that.
And by the way, it wouldn't be Gallego, it would be the governor that would veto the bill.
That is the governor.
You know,
I mean, that's the mayor.
That's the mayor.
Yeah.
Well, shoot. Our governor, never mind. Anyway,
hey,
so the question is, should Arizona taxpayers help fund the renovations at Chase, or should ownership pay for it? That's what it comes down to. And I think for the 90% of the people listening to sports radio are in favor of the taxpayers.
Well, it's
because
the taxes,
they love sports and they would hate to lose this team.
Right. So let's
Agree with
clarify.
that.
It's the taxes from what you're buying at the facility
the hot
that are
dogs,
being
the
used.
beers.
They are
And
not,
the Diamondbacks already have the lowest prices in all baseball already.
Right,
you
right.
can get a cheap hot dog burger or hot dog, whatever,
Sure.
popcorn.
They're not going back to the constituency of Phoenix to say, we need more tax dollars. This is the bill that we need that's going to do it. And what they're saying is the taxes specifically from Chase Field will be used for the maintenance. That's all they're saying. And now if they wanted to do a district tax in the area, then that'd have to be a brand new bill to go ahead and create like they do out the Sports Authority out there on the west side with the State Farm.
So we've seen this with the Coyotes.
We have.
Are there any lessons that these politicians can take away from what we saw with the debacle with the Coyotes?
You would think so.
I mean,
Well,
seriously.
Here's the thing with the Coyotes. It was the tenant, the Coyotes, that weren't cooperating with Glendale.
Right.
That's the difference.
Yep.
Both of them are cooperating here, the Diamondbacks and the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, because they're the ones that are spearheading this. It was Murillo wouldn't pay his rent. The city said, time out. We'll work with you. You want us to cut your rent? What do you want us to do? He refused. They finally said, enough's enough, and rightfully so. They kicked him out of Glendale Arena.
Yep.
And then they realized, thank God the mullet was being made. As great as that is, only 5,000 people.
That's it.
So if you're the commissioner, Rob Manfred, how involved are you in on this deal?
Oh, you have to be.
Okay, then let me finish. Because, A, if they had to relocate, all these owners get a piece, right? They get a lot of money there.
They do.
You don't lose Phoenix for Cactus League. You still got
Yeah,
baseball,
that's true.
Major League Baseball in Phoenix. But you pick up Portland or you pick up Nashville, you pick up Utah, whole nother eyeballs and new people that are going to have support Major League Baseball.
So, Rob, let me ask you: is it the exit fee or the new city fee close to $1 billion like it is?
I don't know. I don't know what the number is.
I don't know what that number is, but I would assume that
Because Utah paid the $1 billion.
They did
to get
yes
to get the Coyotes.
Coyotes.
Plus, they're that owner Smith is going to build his own facility on his dime.
On his dime.
So,
but it's different because it's an arena of 16 to 18,000, not a baseball stadium of 40,000.
Now, so it says, and I don't know, this is AI. So it says that if a Major League Baseball team wants to relocate to another city, the MLB owners have to first approve, and the team could face a relocation fee, and that ranges from 50 to 100 million, depending on the market impact.
Wow, that's a lot less.
A lot less.
Again,
but still $100 million.
I don't know what the A's to Vegas was.
Yeah, I don't either.
There's penalties when it comes to TV contracts.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff that plays into a lot of this, but there is no flat exit fee.
Okay, so you look at this whole ball of wax, which is typically something that as the team, and so Ken Kendrick and Derek Hall and Mike Hayes, the general manager, all the powers that be have got to say, okay, let's lay out the pros and the cons. So if they got to step up, if they go to the city and they go to the Senate and said, look, $500 million, we'll propose. How about we throw in $300 million? Just so you know, as it goes that are voting this, we'll kick in another, $50 million to go ahead and do that to suffice, so we can get this tax coming specifically from that stadium.
All right, so here's some examples of other Major League Baseball teams and what the cities they had to pay. So let's look at Las Vegas and the A's moving over there. So they got $380 million in public funds, which was approved by the state, and it was a $1.5 billion ballpark that they're building. The A's are paying the difference. They're paying a lot there. Now they're getting tax breaks and infrastructure support and things like that. The Braves had a new stadium in 2017. That was $300 million. That their Cobb County in public funding, mostly bonds backed that by taxes there. And then the Braves spent an additional $400 million. Marlins back in 2012. Again, the numbers are different because 2012 to 2025 is a lot different.
Right.
But the Marlins, $500 million in public funds, all primarily backed by hotel and tourist tax. A lot of controversy down there. So there's a bunch of stuff there. But the estimated range to land an MLB team is 300 to 600 million plus in public costs.
So the A Stadium in Vegas, $1.3 billion.
That's the build, yeah.
So the city's going to kick in 360. So the A's are kicking in $800 million.
They are. Yep.
Boy, wow. Okay, but they know in Vegas they're going to recoup.
They will,
like the Raiders have.
Yes, the Raiders have.
They've recouped. They said with all of the hotels and the packages they have with the hotels, they're way ahead of the curve as far as recouping. I know in Jerry Colangelo, when the Diamondbacks first built Chase Field, as far as the way they recouped, they got way ahead of the curve quickly as well.
So it was $364 million to build Chase.
Okay.
In '98.
Okay.
$250 million was funded by Maricopa County taxpayers through a 0.25 sales tax increase.
And
so
that
it was pennies on the dollar.
So I remember all those hearings are going. Remember the hearings were going on, Rock, in front of the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors? And the guy that was the final vote, he voted yes, but it cost $364 to make. And you got $500 million in maintenance fees right now. Your maintenance fees are more so than the value.
All right, but that's 1998.
Yeah, I get it.
That 380 is probably six something now.
Okay, I get it, but I'm just that's still.
I mean, you're still making the same.
Yeah,
as you made
so
in 98. As you made
Actually, I'm making less.
Yeah, you're making less.
I bought that house for $50,000. Guess what? that house I bought for $60,000. It's worth $60,000 25 years later.
We're going to talk Cardinals, Kyler, and NFL headlines with Howard Balzer from SiriusXM NFL Radio and Cards Wire. But first, here's Jax with your latest Twin Peaks ESPN 620 update.
It's now time for your Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B's Twin Peaks ESPN 620 update. I'm Jackson Groff. The Arizona Diamondbacks have a 3-game series starting tomorrow in St. Louis. They sit at 26-24 through 50 games. Zach Gallen gets the nod, and reliever Justin Martinez could return from injury this weekend as well. That comes from the Diamondbacks losing a tough one last night to the Dodgers 3-1 at Dodger Stadium. Arizona is now 3-4 against LA this season, with 5 of those games being decided by 3 runs or fewer. Sad news today for Arizona Cardinals fans is starting cornerback Sean Murphy Bunting has been placed on the reserve/non-football injury list, which ends his 2025 season before it begins. We'll talk to Howard Balzer in this next segment about that injury, what he knows, and more with the Arizona Cardinals. The countdown is on for Miss Twin Peaks 2025. Get your votes in. 2025MissTwinPeaks.com and show your love to your Arizona Twin Peaks girls.
He's been covering the National Football League for close to 50 years. A longtime NFL writer, broadcaster, and co-host of the Pro Football Hall of Fame show on Sirius XM. A Hall of Fame voter, Howard Balzer. Now on Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B on ESPN 620.
All right. Always news with the Arizona Cardinals. Today, they announced that corner Sean Murphy-Bunting has been placed on the reserve non-football injury, the NFI, and he is on that list, ruling him out for the entire 2025 NFL season. But the specific nature of the injury has not been disclosed. Howard Balzer, perfect timing. So you could just tell us what's the injury?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll get an announcement from the team very soon on what that is, because we learn very much about injuries that players suffer. So who knows? I mean, what is it? How did it happen? It sounds like, I mean, there's two ways to look at this. It sounds like it's probably pretty serious to be put on the list right now and rule him out for the season, rather than seeing what happens with it, how he recovers, and all those things. The other point is, and this is a key one, guy, is that he had guaranteed money in his salary this year. His salary was just under $7.7 million, and $4.5 million of that was guaranteed. Well, when you're on the non-football injury list, that means that the injury occurred away from the facility, whether it was working out, whether it was an accident. I mean, hey, an example was when Antonio Hamilton went on the non-football injury list back a couple of years ago, when he had that, when he got burned in that cooking incident in his home. And, that happened right before the season started. The team, when this happened, teams can elect whether they're going to pay the guy or not. They are not required to pay a guy who injures himself away from the facility and in a non-football related situation. So the Cardinals can save that entire $7.7 million because of this, and that could be why they decided to put him on the list right now, rather than wait and see what happens. Because I mean, it's only May, and so again, who knows what this is, how serious it is, but it gives the team obviously financial flexibility on a guy who might have been in a position of not making the team. I mean, when you look at this crowded cornerback room, this year they draft Will Johnson and Denzel Burke. He was in the 5th round, Johnson in the 2nd. Last year, of course, there was Max Melton in the 2nd round. Elijah Jones, who was a 3rd round pick, did not play last year because of an ankle injury, or ankle or heel, something like that, suffered late in training camp. You've also got Star Thomas. You've got Garrett Williams. You've got, Keecho Clark coming back. Jaden Davis was a 7th round pick last year, was on the practice squad all season. And they signed a guy who's not a bad player from the Bears in the offseason, Jalen Jones. So they have a crowded cornerback room, and it could have been a battle for him to make the team. And now he's off the roster, and the Cardinals can, like I said, elect not to pay him at all when the season rolls around.
So he started 15 games last year, Howard. So you thought that he was going to be fighting for his job, even with these young guys?
I thought it was possible. I know that the team would always say they liked him. He offered, I know he wasn't a fan favorite because at times he gave up plays as if there's not a cornerback in the NFL that gives up plays. He also made some good plays. And I'm sure all those people who criticize him, they watch all the tape and they could see how he was covering on the plays where the ball didn't come his way. The guy was a good player. I'm not saying he was great, but he's a good player. Now, is he worth, close to $8 million? Maybe not. And he was, a good veteran that helped a lot of the younger guys. So I'm not saying he would have been playing for his job, but if some of these young guys start coming along, it might have been one of those situations where they say, hey, we're going to go with the young guy and move on, from a veteran. So it's possible that could happen. I mean, certainly they drafted Will Johnson to start.
3 minutes.
Max Melton started games last year. Garrett Williams, obviously, I mentioned, Star Thomas has played good football. So this is. I think this is. I'm not saying this is an all-pro cornerback room, although I think Garrett Williams could be trending that way, and Will Johnson could be if he stays healthy. But they've got some ability in that room, and whatever happened might have helped this team a little bit in making a tough decision come September.
So speaking of come September, basically coming into the fall camp, Howard, what's left for this team right now? You just see this situation here with the corner into Roc's, a lot of experience. What's left to do to go through the OTAs and mini camps to get ready for fall camp?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I think that I wonder about the wide receiver room. I hear people, I hear different discussions, whether it's wherever it might be. I hear people saying that the Cardinals
2 minutes
off season at wide receiver. Well, they did sign a guy that Michael Wilson knows a lot about. And I'm not going to sit here and say this guy's an all-pro type player, but I think he could be a surprise guy to watch. His name is Simi Fehoko, and he's been in the league since 21. He has that speed that everybody loves. He ran a 4.44 40. I say too many fours there. I think not 4.4. Yeah, that's about.
You're good.
That's the right number. Yeah, he ran that in the 40. He's big, 6'4", 218. He's played special teams. He can block, and he went to Stanford. And that's why Michael Wilson, obviously, a part of why he speaks highly of him. So he's going to be a guy I think can come in and compete for a job on this roster. You have your top three guys with Marvin Harrison Jr., Greg Dortch, and Michael Wilson. But who's the fourth? Is it Zay Jones? Is there someone else who rises up?
1 minute.
And the practice squad last year, Twan Palmer, who was on practice squad all year, and Xavier Weaver was on the roster all season, but was only active for 2 games. So you wondered, might they add there? Might they add an offensive lineman? I'm still curious. We've got no word on Will Hernandez and what his rehab has looked like. But it's interesting to me how everyone talks about this offensive line as being set and really good. And I'm not saying it's bad, but you don't know who the right guard is going to be. Is it Isaiah Adams? Is it John Gaines? Is it someone else? Or if Will Hernandez is healthy by July some point, does he come back? Jonah Williams, I think, is a big question mark at right tackle. I mean, he played good football when he was out there last year, but he only played 6 games. And so what do they do there? Yeah, you have Kelvin Beachum, but I don't know if that's a guy you want to play 17 games. Christian Jones, the rookie.
Clear for break whenever.
And started the final game of the regular season, and by all accounts, held his own. So the one thing this team wants to do and likes to do with these draft picks is they hope they want to develop them into good players. And that's why I think guys really to watch when camp rolls around is Adams, who started 5 games last year, 3rd-round pick, and Jones. So there are some questions at other positions, but I don't see any, what would you call it, like an earth-shattering move, certainly nothing like that. There could be, they got 2 spots on the roster now because they also released today Ben Stilley, one of their backup defensive linemen, as crowded as that room is. So they got 2 openings on the roster, but I think it's going to be guys that, are still out there, can compete and come in, for a job, obviously. Could it be a veteran if they want to come in and play for close to the minimum? Possibly. But I don't know how that's going to look, but, certainly you could see it as some of those positions.
Howard, thank you as always, buddy. Appreciate it. Have a good week.
All right, guys. Take care.
That's Howard Balzer. You can check him out on his X page, hbalzer721, part of Sirius XM NFL Radio and Cards Wire for USA Today Sports. Interesting he said that, a guy that has 7 years experience, it may not start at 15 games, 50-plus tackles,
Right.
3 picks.
Yep.
And I don't know who put this in. It was you, Jax. Will Johnson and Denzel Burke, both rookies. Max Melton, 2 years experience. Starling Thomas and Garrett Williams, 3 years experience. There's not much back there.
No, there's not. You hate to lose anybody with that 7 years experience and very serviceable at the corner spot.
Even to teach these kids.
Exactly right.
Just to be a role model.
You hate to lose that leadership and that guy that understands what to look for as a rookie.
Hey, Howard is brought to you today by All City Towing. They, of course, are the largest towing company in the state, a place where your career can get a serious boost. They're hiring now dispatchers, call takers, lot attendants, drivers, and customer service professionals. They are hiring now, and you can take advantage of set schedules, top-tier towing equipment, health benefits. They got a 401k with an employer match, paid life insurance, even a monthly fuel allowance like Jimmy B. Sounds good? Take the next step. Visit allcitytowing.com. All City Towing, where your future is on the move. Coming up, our Learning Row, one call. I'll tell you what's on tap and our results of our State 48 Roofing It's Your Call question of the day. Appreciate you hanging out with us here at Twin Peaks Camelback. It's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B.
And I'm not being overly dramatic about this, but if you don't have your facility for an extended period of time, everything else kind of grinds to a halt. You can't do great TV deals. You can't do concessions. Your payroll is questionable. So it's really important for anybody, not just the Diamondbacks, to get a legitimate public-private partnership that is important for their long-term future.
Rick Cora, the sports professor, joined us earlier. If you missed it, you can download the Arizona Sports app. You can go to rockandmanuch.com as well. It all had to do with this question: what should the D-backs do if the Chase Field renovations deal falls through? Your choices were stay, fund a new AZ Stadium, move to Mesa or Scottsdale, look outside of Arizona, or fight and stay at Chase. The results were the first three I mentioned, 28.6%, and then 14.3 fight and stay. I'm surprised that it was high that it'll look outside Arizona. If somebody would actually be a favor of them going to Nashville or Utah.
What did I say when the word taxes comes up?
That's probably it.
Everybody freaks.
Not one, and it wouldn't affect probably one person that voted.
I'm well aware of that.
And those taxes might be 2 pennies, 2 cents.
It doesn't matter.
It might be 20 cents
the word.
year.
It's the word.
Yeah, and it is. But again, I think the other thing that Alex Murillo and his team didn't do, meaning his front office didn't educate Joe Q. Public in Tempe.
That's it.
Enough that it was going to cost them a dime.
Nothing.
To do this.
They would have cleaned up that toxic dump, everything.
And this is going to cost Joe Q. Public in the city of Phoenix a dime. It's just reallocating the taxes that are spent at Chase Field to be specifically used for maintenance at Chase Field.
All right, what's on tap brought to you by Orangedale Lounge coming to North Scottsdale and the Mug Club.
Can't wait.
In a few weeks. D-backs are off tonight. They recently concluded a series, of course, against the Dodgers. They got one of 3. They will play the St. Louis Cardinals tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
How about that? Excited. All right. Also tonight, coming up at 5:30 is Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. Oklahoma City, Minnesota Timberwolves. So that's 5:30 on ESPN. The Eastern Conference Game 2 will be tomorrow at 5 o'clock on TNT with the Pacers and the Knicks. Game 2 of the Eastern Conference in the NHL with the Panthers and Hurricanes. That's on at 5 o'clock on TNT and True TV and Max. As the Panthers currently lead the series 1-0 after their 5-2 victory in Game 1. Hurricanes are looking to even the series on their home ice tonight.
You know, you think about this thing and you think it's just a no-brainer that people would understand that, you keep an anchor tenant in the city because of all the money that's generated, and not only there, but the downtown area. A good partner with the Phoenix Suns with their facility down there.
Fans don't think like that.
I know that
we think like that. Fans don't think
well,
like
I
that.
know that, but I think that the Senate would think that way, that because here's the thing, they've got to be voted on, right?
Right.
So if they get enough people that say, look, we're Diamondback fans, we want to see them stay down there.
Yeah.
Their time comes around to vote. They probably will do some kind of their own little poll in their areas
in their
Phoenix
constituency.
Area. Yeah, for those senators in the city of Phoenix, and for the state of Arizona to say, look, we're all in this together. We can go ahead and make this that fans will go, well, you voted against it. I'm a Diamondback fan. It makes sense for them to stay there because that helps everybody. It helps Tucson. It helps Phoenix prop wherever. That helps us all by keeping them right there in the
You're
spot.
preaching to the choir, though. You are preaching to the choir. I'm just trying to look at it as a fan who lives in Surprise.
Sure.
Okay. Drives into the city.
Once in a
while.
They don't want to pay that tax.
Exactly.
I get that side. I do.
Well, they're going to pay the tax anyway if they're buying stuff there at the stadium. If they're buying beverages,
but
they're
that
paying the
it
taxes.
doesn't register to them like that.
No,
Well,
I understand what you're saying, Jimmy. It's taxes.
Yeah.
Well, then
we're wired differently than some people out
we
there.
are.
Yeah, and I think that
let me throw this at you.
Okay.
What if the city of Portland or Utah, Salt Lake, they have lots and lots of money? What if that city offers Kendrick $1 billion with public funding and in cash to come to Salt Lake?
Wow.
It's a major win for Salt Lake, and it's also a major win for the Diamondbacks
ownership.
ownership.
Yeah, it is.
Well, you can that
You still don't have to move. You have your practice facility here.
Yeah.
You still got Cactus League here.
Yep.
Whoever thought the Oakland Athletics.
I mean, I'm not implying that. I don't want that to happen at all.
No.
But I'm looking at, what the Raiders did with Las Vegas.
Yep.
And Vegas offered them $750 million in public funding.
Exactly.
I mean, that's huge. You look at the Rams when they left St. Louis to go to L.A. in 2016. I mean, that was the same thing. I mean, they put in so much money to bring them into town.
Oh, how about the Houston Oilers going to Nashville? They got poached coming out of Nashville. Built that beautiful stadium, which, by the way, starting to become aged there in Nashville, Tennessee for the Tennessee Titans. Yeah, I know it can happen, and if you get the Godfather offer, Godfather offer, and it happens, it would just be a shame that team that started originally, i.e. Houston, Oakland, that would be poached to move on after such a long area.
It's funny because the A's stadium, I'm sure you
talk about maintenance.
You guys have been in that stadium.
Oh, I played it.
I worked for the A's.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
I was offered a job to go sell suites at the Coliseum.
Yeah.
And I was offered another job to do television sales instead. Thank goodness.
Yes.
I took that job.
It's a
I'm still
dump.
Here.
It's a dump. It was a dump in the 70s.
It
was unbelievable.
A-15s, right? During Raider games.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
AR-15s?
I will say, yeah. Years later.
Or 3 minutes.
Yeah,
3 minutes.
But, you look at that, and you look at a very liberal state as California. They didn't want to fess up and pay, knowing they're going to lose all this money. I mean, they were like cutting their nose off to spite their face. Oakland, do you not realize this money generator? So in the meantime, for the next 2 or 3 years, they're going to go to Sacramento. Sacramento's going to recoup a lot of tax dollars.
They will
benefit from that, and they're moving on.
But they're getting a $1.5 billion stadium in downtown Vegas.
I know that.
Think if you're Oakland, you lost the A's, you lost the Raiders, and you
Warriors.
lost the Warriors.
I hate that they lost it, but
yeah,
come on. It's a city that's got 2 major teams within what? 10 miles?
I get
20
that.
miles?
Yeah. Over the bridge.
Seriously, what is it?
Over the
it's
bridge.
right there.
Yeah.
And I no disrespect to the A's fan. I worked there, but I was also working for San Francisco. That San Francisco fan base is awesome.
Sure it is.
Yeah, it is.
You go to a game,
2
they're
minutes.
all wearing their jerseys.
Oh, yeah.
They're all real supportive. They never have issues with attendance.
Nope.
Oakland, which is just a different level of
different
the
vibe.
fan base. Yeah, different vibe is probably a right way to say it.
It is. You just hope that this gets settled sooner rather than later, because I think the longer this goes,
I agree with that.
And longer this goes, you see momentum, whether it's good, bad, or different.
That's it.
That goes toward this, and I think that the Diamondbacks, I would hope that their PR firm would get some information out there that here's where we're looking to go. Here's what we hope the Senate does based on XYZ. $500 million. We're kicking in $250, which is unheard of. I mean that mantra.
I'm sorry. I mean, like you said, we'll start one more time, then we'll close shop today. The House already voted yes.
Yeah.
The Senate is Republican. They're going to vote yes. Now the mayor is Democrat. She may do what she does, but I think she could be influenced by the public and us talking about it. We can't lose the Diamondbacks.
Well, the mayor has nothing to do with it. It's the governor that would be the only one that would veto it. The mayor is.
Well, she's Democrat too.
Yeah, but I think that
I think my point is the
board.
reason why I bring up the Republican Democrat. This is all posture. It's just everybody's trying to put their flag in the city.
That's the point.
And they want they want to take care of their constituents and things of that sort. That's why I think it's all political and that's it. But unfortunately, we got to talk about it. So anyway. Hey, we know you have choices. We appreciate you hanging out with us today. If you miss anything, go to rockandmanuch.com or on the Arizona Sports app. For the guys back at the studio, thank you. Good job today. For Jax, he just gave us his 2 weeks, so he's out. So we don't care about him. He's
short timer.
He's done.
Yeah.
All what we did for him is what we get. I don't even get it in writing. I just get.
No, you get
Tuesday is my last day.
See
All
ya.
right. Well,